Hello and welcome to Bushiroad Rumble Online 2023. We are back with day 2. That's right, we are here. I am Outer Orange, and to the right of me, I have...
Hey, it's me. I'm back again, TIE Fighter here, and we also have with us today...
Hi, everybody. It's me, Fuzzy. Apparently, I did a good job yesterday, so they brought me back today. Thanks, guys.
Yay! Very exciting stuff. We've had an amazing day 1. Very amazing top to switch to top cut, essentially. Very good stuff. Today, we will have top 8 happening, and we're going to go ahead and kind of run it down, starting with the format with Ty. So let's go ahead and see how that looks.
So, here we are today. We're obviously doing the V Premium format today. We had our Swiss rounds yesterday, and today we have our top cut. Our top 8 will be duking it out in our top cut bracket to see who will be crowned champion of this year's BRO 2023. And then next, I believe we have our year schedule. Fuzzy will take that away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ty. So, as we stated earlier, we do have V Premium in the lineup for today. But for the card fighters at home who maybe happen to not be able to participate in this event and still want some card fight action, well, there is plenty to go year round. We do have the Weiss Schwarz event coming up first at the beginning of the schedule over here. And then later on, we're going to be transitioning over to standard in March. And then if you want to play some premium action, well, there will be some to play in November. So plenty of fun, exciting card fights to see year round, and it's going to be very exciting to see. But of course, that's not what we're here to talk about as well. We're also here to talk about what these finalists will be trying to get their hands on today. And Orange, if you want to go ahead and take it away to see what the prizes are.
Of course. Thank you. So, first, second, third, and fourth place. Very exciting stuff here. If you are a lucky fourth place winner, you get a certificate. Third place gets 1 copy of the V Premium Chrono Jet Dragon plus a booster display and a certificate, of course. Second place gets 2 copies of that Chrono Jet Dragon, looking very spiffy over there, and a booster display and a certificate. And in case you are literally the champion, you get first place with 4 copies of the Chrono Jet Dragon. You get a display, and you also get the certificates that you can hang up on your fridge and let everyone know, your family, your friends, and your pets. It's great stuff to see. Very, very beautiful. But with that being said, let's go ahead and check out the format video.
Take it away, different fight.
Will be played in the V Premium format, and we can't wait to get started and see all the exciting plays and unique deck ideas that the players will be bringing. Before we jump into it, let's brush up on what makes the V Premium format unique and what you can expect to see today. In V Premium, players use cards that contain this V logo found in the bottom left corner of the card. These cards were first released in VBT01 in 2018 and continue to be printed to this day through shop tournament promotional cards, as well as the Clan Collection booster sets. The format is supported twice per year with these booster sets, giving something new and exciting for all 24 clans. Before we get into the action of today's tournament, let's talk about some of the unique gameplay aspects of this format. First things first, decks are composed of 50 cards, and unlike the other formats, there is no G-Zone nor Ride deck present in this format. Instead, the unique factor is imaginary gifts, which are a type of marker that a player acquires when they ride a grade 3 with the imaginary gift symbol. The imaginary gifts are split into 3 types: Force, Protect, and Axel. Each of the 24 different clans are placed into one of the 3 gift types, which complement their clan's general playstyle. Furthermore, each gift type branches into 2, such as Force 1 and Force 2. However, keep in mind that once you have chosen either Force 1 or Force 2 upon riding your grade 3 for the first time, you cannot select the other gift type for the rest of that game. Let's give you a quick explanation of what each type of gift stands for. The Force gift represents a mid-range playstyle belonging to clans such as Royal Paladin, Dimension Police, Link Joker, and others. Force 1 is a marker that is placed on a rearguard or vanguard circle, and any rearguard or vanguard in that circle will gain plus 10,000 power during your turn. You can also place multiple Force 1 markers in the same circle, giving one unit plus 20,000 or more at a time. The Force 2 marker trades the power gain for changing the base critical of a unit above it to 2. This, however, cannot be stacked, as even if you apply 2 Force 2 markers to a single circle, they will both just change the unit's critical to 2 and not increase it beyond that. Whether it's critical pressure or greater attack power, decide which Force type fits your playstyle best and claim victory. The Protect gift represents a defensive playstyle, belonging to clans such as Angel Feather, Oracle Think Tank, Grand Blue, and others. Protect 1 is a unique gift marker that does not occupy any space on your field, but is rather kept in hand, as its effect is that of a Perfect Guard Sentinel. However, unlike Perfect Guards, a Protect marker is returned to the imaginary gift pile rather than the drop zone. The Protect 2 works akin to Force 1, where it places itself on a rearguard circle after being acquired and provides plus 5,000 power to the unit above, as well as giving it an additional 10,000 shield when intercepting. Whether it be Perfect Guards in hand or acquiring both power and defense, choose your Protect gift carefully to defeat your opponent. The Axel gift represents an aggressive playstyle, belonging to clans such as Nova Grappler, Gold Paladin, Pale Moon, and others. Axel 1 is a gift marker which takes its place on the field in a unique way, creating an additional front row rearguard circle, thus enabling more potential attacks than the other gift types. In addition, the unit on top of the additional rearguard circle will gain plus 10,000 power, thus being able to pack a punch despite not being able to be boosted. Axel 2 trades some of the power by decreasing the gain from 10,000 to 5,000, but instead it allows the player to draw 1 extra card when the gift marker is acquired. With this, the player is able to replenish their hand while filling their Axel circles. Not only that, Axel clans are the only ones in the V Premium format that have access to front triggers, primarily due to being able to buff their front row, including the units that occupy the Axel markers. In addition to the imaginary gift markers, there are a few other game elements in this format. One such mechanic is the Quick Shield Ticket, which is acquired by a player when they ride over their first Vanguard when going second, and it can function as a 5,000 shield that can protect you from small pokes, or simply be discarded for effect costs. And finally, the latest addition to V Premium in the V Clan Collection Plus Volume 1 and 2, Heal Guardians. Heal Guardians are a unique type of heal trigger, which are grade 3. Instead of the usual 20,000 shield, Heal Guardians have 15,000 shield and 10,000 power, but come with a unique pair of abilities shared by all clans. When placed on the Guardian Circle from hand, if you haven't ridden a grade 3 or greater Vanguard yet during that fight, you can choose and use one of the following effects, either giving your Vanguard an additional plus 10,000 power for the entire turn, or choosing an opponent's unit and give it -2 critical for that battle. Whether you need an additional power buff to survive your opponent's powerful early rush of attacks, or you need to reduce the critical of your opponent's high damage unit, this effect will aid you in fighting various decks across the board. On top of that, when a Heal Guardian is placed on a rearguard circle from hand, if you do not have any cards in your damage zone, you can put the top card of your deck into the damage zone face up. This gives you the ability to use some card abilities even if your opponent refuses to attack and give you the damage to use them. And that wraps it up for this brief explanation of the V Premium format. Let's wish all the players participating today the best of luck.
And welcome back, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. We are back here today. So very exciting stuff. Are you guys excited for the nice, amazing top 8s? How do you guys feel?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. A little worn after yesterday, but it's all downhill from here, right? It's the cream of the crop, duking it out for the all those prizes that we saw earlier. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good.
Did you say downhill?
Downhill, I don't know. Maybe it's uphill. Whatever.
We're gonna be going up with all that climbing that
yeah, exactly.
Gears is gonna be doing today. So yeah, that's the mentality to have for sure.
All right, guys. Well, we do have the bracket. You guys want to take a look at that?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see who we got on the list today.
Would you look at that? Look at that bracket. Look at it.
that is a bracket right there. That is for sure.
One of the most brackets of all time. I can.
Oh yeah.
Very brackety. But this is indeed the top 8 bracket. I guess I'll start us off. We got Dracon who will be facing Manlong, and then we have T-Dub who will be facing Lazistan, and then Fuzzy. You want to continue?
Yeah, for sure. All right. So then after that we have Gurgwitz-san going against JM. And then I guess, Ty, if you want to do the last 2 for us.
Sure. Then we have 984 Smurf, and then a name that is so long that the text is compressed and I can't quite read it.
that is the name.
It is a name.
That is a name. Wind Up Hero, I believe. Wind Up Hero.
Oh, Wind
Up
Hero.
It is Wind Up Hero.
Okay,
yes.
There we go. I remember them being in top 8 now, so this all checks out.
Yes, we've made it so far. Well, very exciting stuff. Very, very happy to see the bracket. We got some amazing names in here. Some new names, some old names. Also just in general, it's just really excited to see the people performing really well and making it this far. So congratulations to our top 8s that will be playing it out today. It is that day 2 sauce. You know, you started in day 1, you made it all the way through all those Swiss routes. Now guess what? You're back. You're back.
Yep.
And it's definitely going to be an uphill climb for a lot of them. These are some names that are, as you said earlier, are pretty prevalent throughout the entire community. So some top names, and I'm definitely expecting some top level fights for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
This is where you want to be. This is the time you want to be watching and experiencing this because you're going to see some plays they wouldn't even normally see because these players are here to win. So they're going to play to the maximum level.
Yeah, they are all out for blood. And I think we also have our decks ready to review as well. We can see what has gotten each of these players to this top 8 position. So we can go ahead and take a look at those here.
Yay. Oh no, that's a new player.
Yeah, there we go. Ah, there we are.
So this is Kyrgyzstan. We did see this yesterday, but we'll go over it at once more, kind of maybe break it down a little bit since we do have the time for it. So I mentioned that this is probably the most streamlined Steam Maiden list, haha, that
See what
there
you did there.
is. I personally, I think if you were to compete and play Steam Maidens, this is probably one of the best versions you can take. There might be like 1 or 2 techs you could probably switch around, but I think this is ideal. Just either you want to kind of like pinpoint a couple of things.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the main things to take away when it comes to Steam Maidens is, while you said this is definitely kind of like a nice streamlined bread and butter build, you know, there is a bit of flexibility here. I mean, I especially see when it comes to Gergwitsan's list here, we could take a look at the Karanta and the Naboo there. Those are definitely, you know, some people like to opt to choose different types of tech options, or maybe go more for Karanta for more board control, or maybe just for more Naboo to be able to fuel soul and just have that guard restrict option available, just a little more consistent there. But yeah, I think overall this is a very solid list, and it shows for being him here at a top 8 position.
Exactly. I do also want to pinpoint something about the Karunta. So, in my eyes, the way I look at the Karunta, it's an extension of Entrahana, and I think it's like having 6 Entrahanas instead of just having 4 because the card can directly search it from deck, especially when you start bricking. Because one of the biggest keys of this deck is to find Entrahana as soon as possible, especially into mirror matches. And I think we'll see this Karunta pop up a lot in those situations where you feel like you just can't catch up. The Karunta comes in handy. And the other thing about the Karunta is that if you were to re-innovate and your top 3 has a Karunta in it, the on-place ability activates too. So because it's on place from anywhere. So very fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also just the fact that, you know, it can be used for board control for sure, but even in like other situations, you also have the ability to target your own units as well. So if you're in very much like any sort of a pinch and you just desperately need to get, like you said, one of those Enteranas on board, even if your opponent doesn't have a board for you to work with, at the very least, you can use your own to get to that position as well.
Very well
Yep.
said. Yeah.
I think we about covered everything there. So here we have, this is 984 Smurf here with a pretty much almost identical list, if not identical. It's almost to the T. Again,
Yeah, I think there's just a little different flavor with the triggers.
Yeah,
the starter difference is there. He's playing the cat, the Chrono Tigar.
Yep.
I
would are the same.
One would like to assume that he wants to go with Tiger because 984 Smurf is a cat person.
Yeah, there we go.
Gotta be a cat person. Gotta be a cat person. But I actually think this is an exact copy of what Kyrgyzstan is using. I could be wrong, but I think even the triggers are exactly identical because Kyrgyzstan was also running 1 heal guardian and 3 of the heals and then 8 crits, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this is pretty much identical. And as I mentioned, this is definitely one of the best ways to play this deck. I mean, there's definitely multiple versions, but I think consistency-wise, this is probably the peak of where you can go with this deck because you have the sauce between both Naboo and Karunta on top of the normal game plan of just Steam Maidens, Uru, Gear Dog, the grade 1s, the grade 2s. Like you have the whole combo here. You're really the deck already works so well. All you really add to it is just consistency, and that's where the Karunta comes into play. That's where Naboo kind of helps a little bit. Some people run like Lost Break Dragon, stuff like that, in these kind of slots, or they run the Calibum and in the slot too. But I definitely think this is like ideal.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here we have, this is T-Dub. I know I talked a lot. I can let you guys talk, or I can go on a whole monologue
I was
here
gonna
about
say
Grand
this
Blue.
is Grand Blue. I'm pretty sure. You
Yeah,
can just
yeah.
pop off
This
over
is your
here.
territory for
All right, all right, all right, all right.
sure.
Here I go. Grand Blue Night Rose edition. So this is Night Rose doing Night Rose things. We actually talked about this deck a little bit yesterday, not like this particular deck, but just in general how Night Rose actually can show is showing here, and we're gonna probably see that here today because this deck in particular can actually play around Uru pretty well, the Great Fort Uru, because dragons get so big. There's only so many Urus you could have a deck. Eventually, you have to start saying no guard. And the only thing that I thought was very weird out of this entire list actually was the 3 ghost ships. That is very untraditional. Normally, when you play Night Rose, you will not see 3 ghost ship. It's usually 2 max. So I thought that was interesting. I guess if one falls into damage, the T-Dub really wanted to see that that emphasis. Just in case one falls in damage, you still want to double draw because drawing is super important if you want to survive for the late game into the dragons. And if you damage one and you only have 1 draw for the game, it kind of screws you up a little bit. Also, there's cutlasses in here, which is another interesting addition. Some do run, some don't run. I like the cutlasses, but the room is kind of an issue. And overall, I think this deck is pretty well done. We got the Greed Shades, of course. We got the Tommies. We got the Necrobones to send cards back and call cards to the board. Overall, the trigger lineup is also a little different. Some people run the double crits Sentinel and then the double draw. And here we are seeing the full 4, which is weird because sometimes you can deck out this way. But that's all I have. You guys have any other opinions?
I think talking on that the count of ghost ship in this deck, when we saw T-Dub playing yesterday, that ghost ship came up again and again and again. And so I think it's really just to kind of like maximize on those early game draws, because with going against, you're expecting to go into something like Steam Maiden, there's a lot of aggression in the format right now. So being able to like farm hand in the early game, honestly, in the game that we saw, really did kind of come through and
Yes.
help out there. So I think that's probably the main goal there, because I don't think we even saw the first Skull Dragon until like the 2nd or 3rd grade 3 turn even. So really seems like the ghost ship doing a lot of work there.
Absolutely, couldn't have said it better myself.
I'll let you guys take this one away. I can talk about this
next. Okay, all right. So let us talk about this. So we do have another Gear Chronicle here to show for you all, but this is not the Steam Maiden build that we have been used to seeing. This is Mystery Flare Dragon Chrono Jet. So we see the Chrono Jet Dragon to be able to implement that stride mechanic that everyone is so familiar with at the moment. Having that ability to go into the Mystery Flare Dragon Turbo build here and just try to get as many cards into the bind zone to create that grade number for either the extra turns, the additional crits, the drive checks, all of that good stuff. And you can see here, as the deck is laid out, you do see all the cards to help build that bind zone, right? So we have that Lost Break Dragon, we have the Reinnovate Wings, we even have the Gear Puppy promo that you see. It's just a one of, but if you're able to draw into it, able to accumulate some draw power, and it counts as a grade 4 in the bind zone. So overall, this is definitely one of my more favorite decks to see here in the top 8 slot, and I honestly can't wait to see it. Looks like a very fun deck indeed.
Yeah, I think one thing that stands out to me is the 4 crit sentinels.
You need it.
yeah, just very hyper aggressive, and like we saw yesterday in the game that we had on stream with this deck, very potent strategy. If you're able to get to where you need to be, it just goes in, and it goes in hard.
There's something I want to quickly pinpoint before we switch to another deck here. It's the Entrahana Gear Cat combo. If you guys might be wondering why that's in there, I'll tell you right now. It's in there because of the Gear Cat making numbers on your 2nd turn, because your entire board resets and you lose all your power. The Gear Cat numbers actually make it harder to guard for the Chrono Jet Sentinel restriction. So that's actually why that's in there. Also, it's just deck denning for more triggers. That's all I really have to say there.
Yeah, it also helps build bind zone too, so it's also really good for that.
Exactly, correct. Ooh. The wind-up hero here with Angel Feathers. So we saw this deck round 1, actually, if I remember correctly. This was the first match. Very wild. No, did we see this deck? I don't remember.
Not this exact build. There are some slight differences here.
This one's different. You're correct.
Yes.
It's not. This one has more garter restricts. It has the Lameo. I love the Lameo. This one's a little different. It has a little bit extra. One thing I really like is that grade 2 right there. It's actually a Malkuth card that lets you pretty much send a card to the damage and then heal one. So on your opponent's side, so pretty much you can have a little bit of that removal going on. So very interesting stuff. So I actually really like the setup. I like the double guard restrict because you could put the Lameo behind Vanguard, and then you could put the Ambition Angels on the rears, and then that way you have a triple guard restrict active. So I like this. Or is it Lamido? I think it's Lamido or Lameo. I've been calling you Lameo this entire time.
There you go.
We're after LeMayo for sure. All
Here we
right,
have-
and next up we have here JM's Raging Form list. This is a nice Revenger list. I think this is another one that we saw yesterday's stream. Very nice, as we could see here. The main focus of the deck is you're going to be going into Mr. Raging Form Dragon himself and trying to create that large amount of pressure through your center column. Lots of crits, lots of reride plays, and just overall having that on-hit pressure in the early game with your grade 1s. And yeah, overall it's a very scary deck if you're putting it into a certain damage threshold.
Yeah, absolutely. Revengers, like we saw too, that Raging Fall came up yesterday and made for 5 Vanguard swings in that one turn, which is ultimately what sealed the win in that match. Then we also have that one of Drag Ruler Phantom, which when I first saw it yesterday, I was like, huh, that's a little interesting tech, but it is a Revenger name. You can go into it with Raging Form. And while you may kind of associate it more with Blaster Dark strategies, this particular card also just restands any Revengers that you have in your front row. So as kind of like a backup option and a little extra option, you can still get quite a few attacks in with that card as well. But I think from there we have our actual the 2 competitors that we'll be seeing in our next stream game. Here we have Drakon with yet again another Steam Maiden deck list.
Well, we say yet again, but there is something interesting to take up now. Yeah, we do have. I do see here the Calibum playing into here, and Calibum is a very interesting card when it comes to just and Steam Maidens in general.
Yes, and this is actually a really nice little tech here. So this is actually a tech I love using, something I've been testing in some of my recent ways of playing Steam Maidens. The fact that you can mid-battle like disrupt stuff is what makes this card so good. It lets you draw, it lets you countercharge, or it lets you pick up cards from the drop zone, which by the way, you can recursion cards back. So in case I believe if I remember correctly, the way it works is you can actually grab grade 2s back from your drop. So you can actually grab a Johanna's back, or if you send back like grade 1s on your opponent's side, then you get to literally countercharge and draw a card, refunding its cost completely. So overall, just a very interesting tech. I actually really like that card, and it's really hard for me to decide which one I like more. I think Karuta's slightly better, but they both have really good interactions at very specific situations.
Alrighty, but of course, we're going to see what the last deck going against Drakon, it's going to be, of course, Manlong over here rocking it out with good old Luard.
We saw this on stream. What an insane match.
Yeah, Luard's just a very just crazy aggressive deck, and and ever since Ildona came out, that little Nightmare Painter combo, it's almost like you going back in time and playing with the old PBD kind of ride skip to get yourself to those extra grade 3s in Soul for Luard's skill. But Ildona just adds a bunch of consistency to the deck as well.
Exactly.
So obviously also just another very, very solid strategy that has been doing fairly well. But I think we're probably just about ready to get into the games, and we'll be seeing the Steam Maiden versus Luard here. And I think our players are actually just about ready, so we can go over to them now.
Yeah. Get ready, guys. This is indeed top 8. This
Playing it out for those Chrono Jets. Who's gonna make it to the next round?
Yep, very exciting stuff here. This is officially the beginning of top 8. From here on out, we will be seeing who will be going through the grind to make it to that first place prize. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
and actually,
absolutely.
this is Gear Chronicle into Shadow Paladin. So.
Very interesting if we're talking about it specifically, because one would have to assume Manlong had to go through a fair amount of Steam Maidens at least to get to where he is right now. So one would have to think, what's his mentality going into this particular matchup? And of course, Drakon having that option such as Calibum, if he's even seen something like that at all this tournament season. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out for sure.
I agree. I think this is going to be a pretty close match here. I think both decks perform well. I do think Luard has a little upper hand in terms of stealing, and I think it'll matter here what Manlong's mulligan is going to look like. And also something to note here: the dragon did not use the soul for the grade 1 skill, completely passed on it, which says 2 things: either 1, the hand is not good enough to bind anything, or 2, they need the soul for later plays because they're going into a late game situation and not focusing on Reanimate Soul Blast, but focusing on other Soul Blast more.
Yeah, I think Now I'm trying to look back through and see the cards here, but yeah, no, we're just gonna have to see what that soul is gonna end up being used for. I thought I had some insight, but I do not.
Probably Karuntha or focusing
Yep,
on Karuntha, focusing on Entrahana here. It's very possible that maybe they don't have Entrahana, so they want to go for the Karuntha play and they want to save the soul for later. Also, soul blasting out the grade 1 and kind of just pacing it out, since Luard will probably be into a longer matchup situation, so every soul matters.
Oh my goodness, I think we're seeing a G assist out here off of
Yep.
Manlong.
Is that a Jesus? That's Eldana. That's Eldana's.
Oh, is that Eldana?
Oh, is it
Okay.
Eldana?
Yeah, Eldana's
He was-
top 10.
He was fanning a hand, so I immediately thought G
Yeah,
assist.
yeah.
I'm thinking, oh no, not like this.
No, that was Eldana's skill. You reveal top 10. If there's 2 or more grade 1s, you can grab, I believe, a 2 or 3, and then you but you have to discard Eldana from hand to activate the skill, and it only works on grade 1. So
I mean,
very
Eldana,
restrictive.
I mean, still, Yildana is going to be really prevalent here too,
Is that
right?
another
So-
one?
Did he do
Oh
double
my
Yildana?
gosh.
Yep, he did.
Yeah, so the reason smart about this, if you open up Eldana like this, it's insane. I call it the ride deck Eldana, and the reason being, it's like if you have 2 of them, you do the first one to get your grade 2, then you do the second one to get your grade 3. It's like, oh look, I just found all my pieces, and you just decked them 2 cards.
And you're going to be able to fuel up for Luard as well. So being able to pop off almost immediately for that crit pressure is insanely good.
Exactly. And, we saw Heelguardian come out earlier getting ready for that, steammated pop-off that could happen. So overall, very, very insanely good setup. This is truly showing, like, the power of Luard right here. This is like, what Luard does. Like, when you open up like this, like, this is going to be a scary game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we saw with Manlong yesterday, just like you can definitely tell very, very confident in Luard, very, very confident in the plays, because just like the almost like tenacity with which they go through and like playing their cards in resolving abilities, you can tell that there's a lot of familiarity there.
One thing I do want to note out, so it looked like Manlong over here rode the Abyss Router and choosing to actually call that brown one in the back row and not boosting. So Abyss Router is actually a 7k to the 8k that Drakon had on board.
Right.
So that was a intentional damage deny play there. So I personally think that was actually very smart, because you have the ability to stop a certain amount of resources being accumulated through denying something like the Entrahana, like the Gearcat combo, or even something like a Karunta, like you said earlier. All of those need Counterblast specifically to be able to do what they do.
This is very correct. I think actually that's a very smart play there. Avoiding the Entrahana, denying it. Sometimes the denial is good, and actually in the vice versa, Drakon could do the exact same thing back. Knowing that the Leofall can go into like a pretty good turn 2, they could theoretically just not swing back. But it would be a lot harder because they'd be losing out on 1 card with a drive check, but they could do it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just thinking about that, it's very interesting as well. Like you mentioned, calling that Bronwyn to the back row also just helps that, like, in a damage deny scenario like this too, you want to be careful, because swinging under isn't always enough, because if you only have your Vanguard on board and you flip up a trigger, that power is going to have to go somewhere, and you're forced to give it to the Vanguard and then giving the damage anyway. So just kind of having that backup plan to make it sure that, like, okay, even if there is a trigger here, all the effects are going to this rear guard. It doesn't really matter, because I think denying that Entrahana in the early game is really going to go a long way here.
I agree. I agree completely. I think this is again going back to the fact that we're seeing some top 8 performance here. We didn't really see a lot of this denial happen, in going through rounds, but it's sometimes it can be a game changer between a win and a loss.
All right, so it looks like Drakon did choose to swap, go into the Vanguard and not damage deny there. So Manlong will have that 1 counterblast. So as you said earlier, he could potentially go for the Leofall combo with the Charon to be able to try and accumulate some advantage here.
I think that's exactly what we're going to see here.
That's
So
exactly
I think the
what we're
setup here is going to... actually choosing to not
Going
go
for an
into the
Abyssal Owl.
counter-charging approach. Going for the Abyssal withdrawal here, which is also fine. I mean, you could do that. It still makes really good numbers. So I think actually we might just be seeing only like a little bit of a rush. I usually like to see when Weafol goes into another Weafol and then go with the double parent.
Oh my goodness.
It's such high numbers, and it goes over Heal Guardian, so...
Yeah, it's I think this is like, I remember seeing this yesterday with Manlong as
Oh,
well.
they
Oh
passed.
wow!
Yeah.
No
Again.
swing, just pass. Wow.
Wow. They're
I mean,
truly
that's-
trying to get this player to brick.
Yeah.
They said no ladder for you.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind, this is why Luard is, in my opinion, such a strong contender right now as one of the best decks in the format. And the reason being is as a lore player, you have the luxury to do this. You want to know why? Because you have 3 force markers running right up. That is a lot of advantage that you can have. So you can actually slow down the pace and instantly go like slamming in for 2 damage with the 3 force markers. Like you can choose to do that, because when we were watching earlier rounds, we actually saw Manlong do the exact opposite of this, because they knew exactly what matchup they were facing and they went ham. But now we're seeing the other end of the spectrum where they're slowing it down, dropping that heal guardian, which is 50k heal, by the way, that they just lost. And instantly, if you guys don't know the way the heal guardian works, if you don't have any damage, you're on grade 3, you can actually call it to the board and then instantly force the damage out, which is what we saw happen here.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, oh no, go ahead, Ty.
Oh, it's just kind of an interesting play there as well, because Manlong called down that Abyssal Owl, so got a draw, kind of helping mitigate the loss of a drive check and that advantage, which we saw Drakon swing not really caring about damage denying, because when you're sitting in a situation like this, where you can't really farm up the advantage the way you want to, you're kind of pressed into that situation. So Manlong really kind of dictating this pace, and even if your opponent has a heal guardian, you're still forcing them to call it in order to get any sort of advantage. So that, like you mentioned, that is 15k shield out of hand.
It is, and also it's another heal that could have been used for a Uru skill. So that's also something to keep in mind. Like now that's out of the picture. And then also, so going second into a matchup like this, I think setting up like this was exactly the right play. You don't want to just get blown out by Steam Maiden so quickly. So ideally, slowing down the pace like this was, I think, the smartest. Like I would do the exact same thing. Like this is how I would play. So I think this was very well thought out.
No, absolutely, because you have to take into account, right? Even if Drakon here had that heal guardian play and giving himself that 1 damage, if you want to make sure you have a successful ladder climb with these multi-attack combos, you're going to need exactly Uluru to be able to facilitate that counter charge off of your Olol skill. So it just makes into account that, he needs to have a certain combination of cards in order to facilitate what might be an overwhelming attack combo. So just having that in mind and being able to play to that level is something you really love to see in something like this top 8 match here.
Exactly. And there here comes that heal guardian that was preemptively we were waiting on, and healing. Well, not healing. Sorry, there are two. Never mind. No healing, but still, that's still a good, really 20k shield to have. And also, I think that made the number really big there as well.
Yeah, Manlong really, trying to weather. Well, I think it's a second heal guardian we saw come down just now. Geez, yeah, really kind of shoring up those defensive, just trying to get to this turn right here, not wanting to take like too much damage just yet. But I think we might see explosion here.
I was gonna say, do y'all want to play the game of how many force markers can be put onto the board?
Yeah. I think Luard's gonna win that one.
yeah, I think we saw about 11 hit the Luard board yesterday. So
it was pretty. Oh gosh, that was something.
Yeah,
quite a game. So we have some thinking going on here. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, yeah, if Manlong does have that setup, we are going to see that powerful play of having that overwhelming advantage with multiple force markers on the board. And I think what might be happening over here is he's just properly trying to map out that attack pattern to be able to not only accumulate that large amount of force marker spamming, but a lot of drop potential going into something like a drag driver Luard, and just being able to create this large amount of pressure. Because in something like Steam Maidens, what my scenario you want to do is you want to try and keep them at a certain amount of damage in intervals, right?
Yeah,
so exactly. So ideally, I think what Manlong is trying to do here is possibly try to map out a certain way that, okay, I'm going to try and only deal a certain amount of damage here and then leave you at that. But I'm going to need to try and get as many combo pieces as I can to try and push you over to that point.
So I also want to know something that's kind of important here. So noticing that when Manlong called the grade 1 and they retired those 2 specifically for the effect of Luard. And the reason why is because I believe that's a brawl one over there. It makes magic numbers because she's a 13k. So because of that, choosing to retire specifically the other 2 units and then just pretty much call it a board here, make the magic numbers, force the guard to be super awkward here, making it like harder to just break through. That's really important. Magic numbers are really key, and we're seeing we're literally seeing like this happen. Like there's a reason why Manlong is top this much. Like the man knows exactly what to do to make sure that to break through any guard possible. So see, here's the setup going in as well.
Yep.
Also, it just hits over. Like you don't even need to commit too much, which is another reason why.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that brown one swinging in that 13k, like you said right there, intercepting to block that. Let's see.
Exactly, not to commit another booster, because otherwise, if it was anything else, it wouldn't have hit over.
The question is Drakon going to try and let this go through? One crit is going to put him at that 3 damage threshold, like as we were talking about earlier, and possibly just if that is going to happen, then Manlock is more than happy to probably just pass the turn after that.
Yeah, that's really important to keep in mind, and also just kind of like it's like that force 2 syndrome. You always want to keep your opponent at like 2-4 intervals to force them to have to guard awkwardly. And right now, if that's right, if there's like a crit check or anything here, it gets it out of that interval. Oh,
going for the rear guard here.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's
putting all the
I
effects.
wasn't expecting that.
And passing. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting to
Wow.
see here. That's what's really interesting is, Manlong, swung with the Bronwyn first. It was a very easy intercept to guard.
Exactly.
Which I think at this point, maybe if you're Drakon, you're like, oh man, maybe I should have just taken the weak swing. And then it looks like you said, swung at the rear guard with the Vanguard, and then I might have this huge abyssal all column right here, but I'd rather you have no damage more.
Exactly. The only thing that's a little risky here kind of depends on how the bind zone sets up here. We did see the heal come through drive check. Z-mains can play on one counterblast pretty reliably, and that's something to kind of keep in mind, especially if you find a Nabu in time and stuff like that. You can kind of just keep going. So that is something to know. It shuts down a Trahana, which is what we're seeing here, but it doesn't stop the pace of the deck multi-attacking and keep going. You can just literally call a 0. The 0 refunds itself, go to the 1. The 1 goes to the 2, and then you still have like full setup to do what you want to do. Now the downside is if you don't have rides, which is what we're seeing here, you need to keep riding when you get denied like this. If you don't keep riding, the deck really starts falling off.
Yeah, so I think that might be a strategy that Manlong is trying to take here, and then having that kind of slow roll play here, maybe also accumulating as many force markers as he possibly can, and on a crit crackback turn is probably a line of play that he's trying to make.
Yeah, let's see.
Choosing to go for the double intercept. Wow. Now for those who are confused, that the grade 1s in the front board are allowed to intercept thanks to a card that Manlock has in his backboard. The I believe its name is Decremps. Its ability is if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all of your front grade 1 units get intercept, which is really nice because those are just free 10k shields for a year.
That is correct. Yeah. That is correct.
Let's see, I've got an Enterana swinging in now.
Oh, guarding through. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Manlock actually playing like very conservatively. Like really like controlling the amount of damage that's coming through.
Oh wow, that was an interesting Trahana top. I swear, yeah. I see that more in the last like 24 hours that I've seen in my own gameplay. There's just the top 2. Oh, crit. Oh, okay.
But as we can see here, that climb is just not stopping. We're trying to get as much pressure as we possibly can, pushing Manlong to 3 damage here. Manlong trying to do his best to stabilize, and we'll see if it's enough with all those damage denies that he was been doing, and we'll see what he's going to be doing here on his crackback.
Exactly.
We do have the Luard rewrite here, so just making that 1/4 stack even bigger. So now we're definitely going to see the Luards in Soul for the drag driver skill. So now all these grade 1s are going to be quite have the extra crit on them. So that's gonna see if we're gonna see a big push here to try and seal the game, or if it's gonna continue with this very like deliberate, controlled pace that Manlong's been dictating so far.
I think in this situation, it kind of just comes down to what's in your hand. Do I push you or do I not? Because something people forget about Luard, as much as you draw, there's a lot of dead cards in your hand that have no shield. I've seen so many Luard players go, oh, well, I just had 6 grade 3s in my hand, couldn't do anything about it, And I think just depending on how, dictating from the hand size, or sort of like what's going on. Is that another? Oh, they're checking drops. So I thought that was another pass. I was like, what? I think here, but I think in this situation, if the hand is healthy enough, I think Manlong is going to start pushing here. If the hand isn't healthy enough, I think it's going to be another into rearguard swings and maybe Vanguard to Vanguard swing, maybe potentially just giving like 1 damage and passing again. But we'll have to see. It's all in the health of the hand.
Yeah. Let's see.
I see the potential of slapping down that Nightmare Painter. Yeah,
I think that's what that is as well.
Because you do have the ability to put that Grade 1 lessons to the drop zone, so it might be just a setup like you possibly need to, like you said, get the requirements for the soul.
At the very least, it's also going to make that Nightmare Painter a 10k booster as well, or just a body to feed to Luard for the skill, as we see right here.
Having the ability to have that selective retire. It looks like Drakon Dweller went for one of the Lost Gear Dogs in the back row. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely, if I'm in Drakon's position, I definitely don't want to try and give up one of my Entrahanas for sure. Although I will also say that it is interesting that, you know, we do see, like we said earlier, this sort of level of control play style. And, you know, I wouldn't put it past Manlong to continue this sort of ebb and flow of just retire pressure, attacking into rear guards, trying to accumulate as many resources as he possibly can. But, you know, on one side of that, you're also in a scenario where if you continue to play in this sort of control play style and your opponent just accumulates this large amount of resources, it might not matter in the long run.
Exactly. There is kind of like a thin line with this. You need to know when to start going in, and that really dictates between a good player and like a great player, is knowing when to break that line and start applying pressure. Because yes, Steamius can farm. Actually, we haven't been seeing any Nabus or anything coming from Dragon's side, which would have been really handy into a situation like this. This is when Nabu really shines. But because you can just keep calling her out and spamming her, calling her out and spamming her, and just drawing cards while also applying a guard restrict. But yes, there is a pacing here. At some point, you have to start applying pressure. But the point is, when do you start doing it?
It seems like Manlong's debating on what to call out, I believe, with the drag drivers on play skill. So going over a few options here, see the Abyssal Owl being considered here as well, which is something that we did see yesterday with their plays. Like, I think in one turn, called down 3 Abyssal Hours just to farm up a good amount of hand right there. But
not just that, but we also see the Morfessa, right? So Morfessa is definitely going to be one of those cards he's going to really want to try and rely on here if we're talking about pressure, because it's going to be one of those cards to allow that multi-attack to happen.
Exactly.
All right. It seems he's made his decision. He's got all those cards there, going for the grade 1 that gives resist, or not resist, intercept to the grade 1. That's what I know it as. And going for a Karen as well to get that counter charge for Morfessa to work, and then a couple more Abyssal Owls, or just one Abyssal Owl as well to get more hand on top of it all.
And there we go. And I believe the crit pressure is now online for Manlong, and swinging in now with Vanguard does have the ability to, I mean, if I'm in Drakon's position, I do have the ability to be flexible here when it comes to the Vanguard swing, because, you know, as low damage as you are right now, that Morfessa column is looking pretty big.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here we are, start off with the Abyssal column here, swinging in, and now everything is 2 crits, so the guarding matters a lot more now than it did before.
All right, choosing to no guard here. Manlong getting a draw trigger, putting it onto the Morfessa, and then following it up with another Luard. So we're definitely going to be seeing another rewrite back on Manlong's crackback turn after Drakon.
Exactly.
Very, very familiar to what we saw yesterday as well. I believe Manlong, we saw them ride all 4 Luards in that game.
Yes, we did.
So.
Yes, we did. That did happen. That was an insane... No, I'm not going to forget that match for a while.
All right, choosing to take the Morfessa column here, putting himself Drakon putting himself to 4 damage. Now Morfessa is going to be proccing here, and let's see what Manlong is going to be choosing to call off the Morfessa skill.
Another Abyssal, maybe?
Possibly. There are a couple options he has.
Yeah, all good options, to be honest, for the most part.
I could definitely see an Abyssal Owl. I could possibly see, depending on what he has, maybe an Abyss Router to draw more cards. There's a few options here.
Yes, exactly. I think Abyssal might be the safest option here, but you can also go for numbers if you want to just get out as much shield as possible. You have a couple options. I think ideally it's between a power number card or the draw from Abyssal Owl. So I think they're kind of trying to contemplate what they want to do, because it is, I believe, Drakon is at 4 damage, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So whatever this is, Drakon has to PG guard it, whatever. We're choosing to go for the big number. So just to make it, since it is a 13k plus the 4 sparkers, I think it puts at 53 for 2 damage here.
This is a large amount of pressure coming out from Manlong. We'll see if Drakon here chooses to perhaps PG it. Maybe has a couple Urus in his hand.
Yes. Yep, Uru would be perfect here just for the bind setup, because that bind is not healthy right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're putting himself, at a fair amount of damage here to be able to do anything. But as you stated earlier, that bind zone, you're going to need a few more resources to be able to successfully climb.
exactly. And here we have the Uluru coming out through the heel here. Very good. I think this is ideal because, as I mentioned, that bind zone had a 2 and a gear cat in it. It wasn't really doing too much. But now we have the grade 1, which is we're getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. But that's still not enough. We still need to guard a little bit more.
He says, I'm just a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah, I believe we're at 2358 right now. 50 or 40? 48. We're at 48 right now. So we need,
I think that's
more shields.
4 markers on that.
Well, we have the markers plus the additional power, right, from Luard as well on top of that.
Yeah, that's 53. Swing for 53 right now. It was 48. And then there we go, guarding through, and yeah, getting some more markers because why not?
Yeah, it's what we kind of expect to see at this point with those fat 4 stacks.
Exactly.
It's all right. We're gonna be counting more markers next turn. Don't you worry, folks at home.
Yeah.
More markers to come. All right. Okay, very nice for Drakon. He's able to ride into another Ulu, so he's able to create another force marker onto that column and just create a larger amount of pressure there for that multi-attack play that we're probably going to be seeing.
Yeah,
Still a long way
exactly.
closing the gap in force marker count, but I think honestly at this point, just seeing that extra rewrite is going to go a long way in helping Drakon kind of map out this turn here.
Exactly. Also, just for setup, it's just really good because now we have the grade 3 in Soul. We can Soul Blast that out, get the bind zone going even more. We're still missing the grade 2 Steam Maiden actually for like that full combo, which isn't very good because being at the damage that they're at right now, you don't want to be in the situation.
Yeah.
You want to apply pressure, and I think right now it's very hard for Drakon to apply pressure here.
All right, looks like he's choosing to use Olo's skill to call out the Uluru, so he's going to be able to set himself up for at least the 0-1 play. But as you stated earlier, Orange, I don't see an Owl in there, so
it's not in there.
It's going to need some way to get into that bind zone to be able to do a successful climb.
Reanimate is the only out here right now that I see because the option was between the 0 and the 2, and Drakon chose the 2. Chose the 0 here. The only other option is if Entrahana happens to find something, but that means you would have to swing with Entrahana first, which I think we're trying to dig for that piece here right now.
I think that's the best thing you can do in this situation, just to try and procure those pieces to, Drakon's been putting like a steady amount of pressure, although Manlong's still been like very, very conservative in the amount of damage they've been taking. But things could go very aggressive very quickly if Drakon gets the pieces that they need.
Yeah, exactly. Here we have the gear cut coming out. So potentially, since we haven't seen too many of the grade 2 Steam Maiden girl, there might be a chance to find something here. Though it would be a little bit awkward to set up at this point of the game, because it'd be a hard way to bind her since the bind already happened. But maybe we'll find something that'll be of use. We'll have to see here.
It would be interesting if he also is thinking about, do I try to be as risky as boosting with my Entrahana combo and then using the effect to try and bind an Olo off the top deck?
Exactly. And the top deck's possible. And deck thinning here is like really, really good for that. So there is a chance. You do have that high roll chance of finding exactly the card you need. But it does require swing with Entrahana first, which kind of isn't usually traditional for the setup. But sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. Also, Soul Blasting out the grade 3 is pretty important here because that card can also be used for bind as well.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those situations where maybe you don't have the perfect setup, but you have potential to get there, and the best thing you can do is just try and play to that out, no matter how unlikely it may or may not be.
And as we stated, Orange, I think is exactly what we're seeing here. As you said, he's going for that Entrahana combo right now, and let's see what he gets off the top here. Maybe he finds that piece that he needs. Okay. I see a double PG coming down. I don't see an Olol there, so this multi-attack might not be as prevalent as we were stating.
Yeah,
losing out on that grade 2 there is pretty big, or more safe for Manlong is the best way to put it. But it's okay. I mean, that's sometimes you just have to play it out like that. Like you just don't have a choice. So your choice is top 2. I hope I find something. If not, I just keep playing, right? So, and that's what we saw here. But it's definitely the most ideal approach. I think that was definitely the out. So I think it was still well played regardless.
Yeah, definitely. I think though, like if you're Manlong at this point, you're probably thinking like, all right, cool. A lot of the pressure that is kind of off, especially like looking at that hand on that side is looking pretty thick. So I think probably breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief on that side of the stream right there.
Absolutely. Being
Going
able
into
to have
the
that.
Gear Cat. So I was actually thinking why they were taking a while. My brain was like, okay, they were choosing between the grade ones. So they're choosing to go to Gear Cat. I'm assuming that so that top 3, the first one, must have been pretty interesting. Like it must have been something that was just not useful at all. So they chose to dig a little bit deeper.
And now going here for his Elo column, pretty big. We got some Skull Dragon numbers happening over here. It looks like Manlog is just doing a quick check for triggers. Also accumulating, trying to possibly map out maybe how many are out of the deck and seeing if the attack pattern that he might try to do on the crackback is sufficient.
Exactly. So here we have, there's that Abu coming through.
Wow.
Would have been a card to see a little nicer sooner. Then we have swinging in. This is the last attack. I think for Manlong, this is just, you can even like take this just to keep yourself at 5, but choosing to actually intercept here.
I mean, yeah, you have the flexibility to do so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think the idea though is my brain is like you can deny heals being at 5, but you're lowering that cushion space, and sometimes it's hard to know what's better, cushion space or denying healing. We have seen quite a few heals come down from Dracon's side, so I think the chances of them healing is very unlikely at this point. But still, you know that heal could change the game pace.
Speaking of coming down, we see another Luar coming down from Manlog. That's another force marker coming up. So, you know, lots of force spammers for all the force fans out there. You're getting to see some in strides, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think in this situation too, you know, when you're playing a deck like Luard and your rear guards are going to be having that extra crit anyways, I don't know if you necessarily fear a heal too much. You know what I mean? Because it's like everything you're going to swing with is going to be swinging for lethal.
Just reminds me back of one of our matches from yesterday. Well, how big is it? It's just big.
Yeah,
it's just big. All right.
Oh, wow.
Going into the draw card. It looks like a nice even distribution of those force markers. Yep.
Yeah, that confused me for a second seeing the force marker in the back row center. I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing here?
My booster needs to be big as well.
Yeah.
That would be that'd be such a it's such a cheesy thing to do. Just put it in the back row just because.
Yeah.
All right, but it looks like Manlong here now once again tried to opt to see what he's going to be calling off of the Luard skill. Very similarly to actually I think we saw in the previous turn. We see the Morfessa there, of course, for the instigating of the multi-attack combo. I do see the Sharon there. I see a Brandwin on top of the Abyssal Owl. I don't think we saw the Brandwin off the first call, which is nice because as I think Orange stated earlier, it's just a larger beat stick on top of what it normally does. So just trying to create as much pressure as he possibly can here.
Exactly. I think a lot of people really underestimate 13K boosters. They just get so big.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're so free. Like it's like, oh, you get 5K for whatever your deck does. Like it's like, okay, sure. And I think the we're seeing the Bronwyn really showcase a lot here. Magic numbers, big beater, awkward guarding, it always hits over. I always tell people like run the grade 3 searchers. They hit over. It's always a 13. Doesn't matter what your opponent's playing, it'll hit over, even if it's just the only attacker you have. It would slap it down.
Yeah, that's very true. And then I'm trying to spy the amount of cards in Draken's hand. It seems like it's looking fairly healthy, but I'm not sure how healthy can be when you're staring down a board like this where there's 40K to each of the rear card columns going on right now.
Well, we know for a fact he at least has one PG in his hand off of the drive check, but unfortunately one did go to bind zone. Exactly. So it's just a matter of showing if he doesn't have a healthy hand, how many of those cards in his hand are PGs, because everything is going to be swinging in here for a crit, minus the Vanguard, of course. And those are definitely things you're going to want to guard if you're at 4 damage.
Yes, being at 4, this is the ultimate threshold that is the scariest. You can't take a single attack, or you have to hope for a heal here, which is so scary to be at, because this is 4 attacks, big numbers, all have crits with the exception of the Vanguard. And it's just, yeah, what do you do in this situation?
We do see an Uluru there, though, coming down for Drakon, putting the Ulul into the bind zone. That is exactly what we're going to be wanting to see if we're on Drakon's end. Having the ability to not only flesh out his entire bind zone now, but now he's able to create that sort of climb combo for his following crackback turn.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, at this point, you know, this is definitely a scary position to be in, because, you know, the game could end here on this turn, but, you know, in in Vanguard, like, anything is possible. Like there could still be a heal that could help cushion the situation even more. So even if things look dire, you still need to be playing to your win condition and setting up for a turn that you ideally, hopefully, get the chance to have.
Absolutely. And, we might say that Drakon does have a healthy amount of cards in hand, but when you're staring down the barrel of 4 force markers with another 4 force markers on the other column, that hand can be depleted quite quickly.
Very, very quickly.
I agree. And now I always like how Manlog has been setting up attackers and how they are choosing to. Ooh, we're finally seeing the card in action.
Wow.
Oh, what the? I didn't know that was an interaction. Sorry, I don't play Shadow Paladin stuff. I didn't know you could do that.
Wow.
So for those at home, this is Abyss Router, and it says when play Soul Blast 1 and call grade 0 from your hand to rearguard circle, and you draw an additional card on top of that. So once again,
call a 0 from hand. That's so good, dude. That's like different bad, but
amazing,
it's so much
actually.
easier to set up. What? That is
Or
so
to-
much easier to set up. I am not okay right now.
Manlog was like 4 attack Luard?
This.
Nah, 5 attack Luard. Let's go.
Wait, I think that's. Wait, is that? Did they survive?
well,
They
yes,
survived?
because they did survive because,
Because
what
the card is in it's not 2 damage.
exactly
Oh,
because
wow.
Luard only instills the critical trigger pressure to grade 1s. So
I am not okay right now.
However, I will say one thing which is really interesting, right? So the extra attack is really nice, but it also kind of made this sort of different type of scenario where Dragon had to take into account, where it's like, yes, if I did take that Vanguard hit, and if I push myself to 5 damage, I didn't have to worry in that sort of scenario, but then maybe not taking into account, what Manlog might do is call down that Abyss Router, call down that additional grade 0 to try and ping in for that final point of damage.
Gosh,
Wow, that's such a spicy
I'm
play.
shook.
Like I
I'm
had
so shook right now. I didn't even know that was like an interaction. Like I've never seen people do this before. It's always bat or no bat, but here we have like mini bat.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
Like,
fun
easier
fact,
set up bat.
Manlog does not play Apocalypse Bat at all in his deck.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Which is why I was like, oh, this is just 4 attack Luar, just normal. Nope, it is still 5 attacks.
Still 5 attacks. Let's
All
see.
right,
And I
but
think
we're going to
that's
be
what
going
we-
back to Dracon's turn. Looks like the ladder was being able to be successfully built here, swinging
Yes,
in with the
exactly.
Alol first, and trying to instigate those multi-attack combos. And if I'm on Dracon's position, I am trying to finish the game here on this turn.
Yeah, you have to. There might be another ride that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
There might be another one.
I am not going to see all 4 Luards in this game.
Yeah, and I think
So
that's
we have
like
the kind
like
of
like
setup
was
going. Mhm.
yeah, I think
Go
that's like I mentioned earlier about how even in a situation that looks kind of dire, still setting up to your outs, and how that's now paying off because like you mentioned, that ladder is now set up. So this could be the situation where you're aiming for to try and close out the game here because staring down a double barrel of 4+ force markers on each rear guard, especially after surviving that last turn. There's how many more of those turns can you take?
Exactly. It just gets bigger and bigger. It's like late game Grand Blue. Like there's only so much you can take.
Speaking of take, it looks like Manlog has been taking some damage here, pushing himself to 5 damage. Still
With the defense,
staring.
though.
Yeah, still staring down. A few more attacks coming down from Drakon. And I believe with 3 cards in deck, am I not mistaken?
Yes,
that is
3
indeed
cards
3
in
cards
deck.
Woo! So that means there's no Vanguard swing. Actually, no, they still could. They can set back.
No, they can still no, because they have to draw for turn.
They have to draw for
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
No,
Look
and then they
at
send
him.
more cards
Look
back.
at him. You see that energy?
Wow.
Like, that's right. Here I come. Look at this. The energy is real right now. Putting down. Oh my gosh, is that 10
Wow.
force markers?
It's
The-
10
oh
force
my
markers.
gosh.
Yep.
Woo, what you call
This just
call
speaks to
nothing
what
here?
I was saying earlier about how Manlong just very clearly knows this deck through and through, and like even in a situation where kind of on the outside looking in, it's like don't know if you can swing the Vanguard. Manlong's way ahead of you, already knows. Nope, I got this. I know exactly where needs to go, what I need to be doing, and it has the perfect response to this.
Yeah, I mean,
Ladies
you
and-
look at that hand. There's only 4 cards at Dragon's side. Like there's more attacks than his hand right now. So
It's very, very very true.
I believe Manlong has unlocked a personal achievement here of having the most force markers I've ever seen on the board. That is
Correct.
10 force markers on the board. Holy moly.
And he's not
Yep,
even
yep.
playing Astral Poets.
Exactly. No poets, it's okay. I'll give you guys poets. Shadow Paladin edition.
I think also Manlong here also debating what he's going to try to possibly call here because, you know, he did manage to send some cards back into the deck, but even then he's off of that superior call. It's only going to leave him with practically nothing left. And
Mhm.
I think the situation here, I'm not 100% sure. So I think there is a draw trigger in there. And I think that might be why the contemplation is really big here because that draw trigger. Because think of it this way, I'm pretty sure it's 4 cards in it's either 4 or 3. If it's 3, then there's a draw trigger in there because you can't call it out, but you also if you call it out, you're down to 2 cards, which means you can't speak with Vanguard. If you choose not to call it out, you can risk it, but then you can deck out. So what do you do?
Yeah,
that is not
definitely,
that is not his hand he's shuffling, by the way. That is his deck.
That's
He is
the deck.
shuffling his deck.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not 100% sure, but you know, this is the only time where you really need to think about what to do. And this is the exact situation. If there's a draw in there, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, it seems like maybe kind of going through and checking, like maybe for a trigger count here to kind of see what is going to be, what you kind of need to play to or around or what
Yes.
have you.
I mean, unless there's 2 PGs in Dracon's hand, you could technically swing with both rears, and it should be enough to be high enough to where it would close out the game. But it looks like they chose to leave the trigger, whatever it is, those top 3, whatever we know. We know 2 of them for sure. Well, we know 1 card that's in there. We just don't know the other 2 because we know we saw the grade 1 get sent back. We saw the lure get sent back. Obviously, the lure came back out because you want to reride, and then the only other thing that's left is whatever those 2 magical cards are.
Yeah, if I'm in Manlong's position here, I have to contemplate, you know, am I just gonna, you know, not slap everything down on that I have onto the board and just try and create that large amount of pressure? I mean, Dracon does only have 4 cards in his hand with the accumulation of being at 5 damage. So, you know, it's make or break here for both of them in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point, what I'm kind of curious of is, are we going to see another Morfessa hit the board? Because I think at this point, that could definitely be something that could help make or break the situation. Yep, there it is. Okay, yeah. So even at this point, even with the low deck count, that's still going to be 3 rearguard swings, all with a crit, and it looks like
Even with that, there you go.
Yep,
Yeah,
there it
Manlong
is.
takes
That's
it.
the game.
Yep. Congratulations to Manlong going into the top 4. You do get prizing here, so this is very exciting stuff. It was quite a match. Very long match, but very well played from both pro players. I think that was really well done. And I actually think, just to give a little props to Manlong here, I think Manlong really showcased how to play around Steam Maidens. Like that was probably some of the best ways to play around Steam Maidens. I think that was really well played. And for those guys at home that want to learn, you know, so many people ask that question, how do I do with Steam Maidens? That game was a really good representation of that. Yeah. If you need a way, that's the game you want to rewatch over and over again because they went second. Just letting you guys know. That was a going second situation, which is usually awful in most cases, but Manlong truly showed what you can do against Steam Maidens, and of course not to disregard Dracon. Dracon played extremely well and did the best they could in the situation of being denied that hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in that sort of scenario too, you want to take into account that Steam Maidens unfortunately doesn't always accumulate the pieces that they might need, and unfortunately, as we saw there with Dracon, it can boil down to just that.
Yeah, we did see that Aloe finally get to the bind zone, but it looks like it was probably just a turn too late. And like you mentioned, like a textbook example of how to play around Steam Maidens, which a very similar strategy like we saw yesterday from Manlong, just deny hard in the early game, farm up, using those Abyssal Owls, like those Abyssal Owls really put in the work just to sit there and make sure that the hand was there, the hand was ready to survive any sort of onslaught that came. But I think even like just with that hard damage deny as well, just kind of helped make sure that onslaught didn't actually ever come.
Yep.
But with that, I think we're gonna toss to a quick break for a bit, and then we'll be back with more BRO 2020.
Top 4.
Yeah.
See you in top 4.
See you in top 4. Hello and welcome back to BRO Bushiroad Rumble Online 2023. We just saw the amazing top 8 games, and we are actually going into now to top 4. This is where the pricing starts. This is where it gets even sweatier than it already was. But before that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the brackets. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Oh boy.
All
right,
really good stuff here.
Yeah, we can kind of see how things shaped up here. You know, at the top of the bracket, we have Manlong advancing forward like we just saw. Below that, we have T-Dub taking the dub there. And then I'll pass it over to Fuzzy for the rest of the bracket here.
Absolutely. So on the bottom side of the bracket, we see Gergwitson advancing against JM. And then on the other side, 984 Smurf taking it over Wind Up Hero. So if I'm not mistaken here, that means on the top of the bracket here, I'm seeing a Night Rose, I'm seeing a Luard. And then on the bottom here, it looks like, I believe, Gear Chronicle, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
I think so. I think we got Luard, Rose, Gear Chronicle. Is the order from top to bottom.
Alrighty, and you know, we don't have to guess for too long because I believe we are going to be tossing it to that lower end of the bracket for our next stream game. So we should, I think we have them set up for deck review to see. Or wait, are we doing deck review? I can't remember. Maybe we can take a look at them right quick.
Yeah, we're actually gonna refresh you guys just a little bit. This is the top 4 deck review. We won't go through it as you know, aggressively, but we'll still gotta talk about it here. So of course we have Gergitson representing Gear Chronicle with the, as we talk about, the very streamlined list here. So we're just gonna quickly just run it down here. You guys have anything to say before we switch? Oh, okay. Looks like we're just going over Gergit and the opponent specifically that we'll be facing, because that will be the match we'll be watching today.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to say about it is that we got the bread and butter here. But as was stated yesterday, this is the fine types of bread and butter you'll want to see when it comes to Steam Maidens. That's that good stuff.
Yep, that nice that compound butter, that artisan loaf, given nice and toasted, getting it all set up there, serving it up fresh.
And we'll see if Gergwitson's gonna be serving it up here with all of these climb combos I'm seeing here. It's gonna be an exciting match to see. But of course, let's see what he's gonna be going against, and it is going to be 984 Smurf also rocking it out with the Steam Maiden. So it will be a Steam Maiden mirror match that we'll be taking a look at.
Yes, and luckily enough, actually not so luckily, they're the exact same deck.
Yep.
Like literally the exact
build.
same deck. Same build, same concept. It's all going to come down to who opens up Intrahana, honestly, and who he doesn't and goes into Kurunta instead, and then opens up their Intrahana.
Yep.
So we'll just see how this works. It's going to be a really weird match.
It honestly will be interesting, because if we're talking about the mirror match specifically, you know, there is going to be a little bit of back and forth, possibly some damage deny plays when it comes to if who's going first, you know, and then, you know, when it comes to actually building up that ladder, accumulating those multi-attacks, who was going to be able to do it in a more consistent manner.
Exactly. But
I think it's really good. My apologies. So I was just going to say, it's really going to boil down to who has a larger grasp, an idea when it comes to Steam Maidens as a whole.
And just knowing the mirror really well, and knowing how to farm when you need to farm, knowing how to set up properly. So it's all going to come down to that. But I think we're getting ready here for the setup. We're probably going to switch over to the match here. This is top 4, guys. Top 4. Let's go. Let's
do it. We got some Chrono Jets on the line here. And of course, it is poetic enough because it is Gear Chronicles that are fighting it out for this Chrono Jets. And I think we're seeing, I was going to say, I think we see a G assist here from Gergwitson.
Yeah, coming right into the game. Looks like Gergwitson's on the play, and starting off the G assist, not the most ideal, but hey, you know, at least found the grade 1, better than nothing, right?
Exactly. And it's not even a bad grade 1. So something that's really nice about Steam Maidens is even through G assisting, you can actually still farm through your hand very quickly. And here we're gonna have the draw. We're gonna still have the Gear Cat skills, so potentially still finding some very useful stuff. And honestly, that hand did not look too terrible. I didn't quite see every little piece of it, but it actually looks like a pretty good hand, aside from the G assist, of course. So still starting strong, still going first, by the way, which means we still have like a little bit of that slight advantage. We'll have to see what Smurf decides to do in this situation. Going going in with a Gear Dog here. A nice little setup too, because you can choose to get whatever grade 3 you want while also discarding maybe an Uru or something, which is what we're going to see revealing
Exactly
the
what
Uru
we're
here.
seeing.
Very good setup. I love this setup. This is my favorite setup. Why? Because you can just discard the grade 4 and then guess what? You get the heal back later anyway, and it's still shield value. You're missing out on literally nothing.
Not just that,
punished.
but I think by riding the Lost Gear Dog 8, it's also telling for a couple of things if you're on Gurgwitz-san, right? Of like, what exactly is he trying to accumulate here? If it's a lull, do I have the necessary lulls to try and accumulate a large amount of force markers on a couple of turns? Or do I go for something for like a Re-Innovate Wing where I'm just trying to fuel the bind zone? It's a very interesting kind of mind space, to say the least, because you're thinking, okay, what is my opponent's hand? And how much information can I grab off of it, off of something like a Lost Gear Dog Search?
Exactly. And honestly, now that I noticed, we just chose to discard the Gear Dog, actually, which does count as a 3 in hand. So interesting setup there. I mean, honestly, either way works. Maybe just keeping that 25k shield just to bind specifically was probably what Smurf was thinking about, which is also very important to keep in mind. Sometimes you want to bind and you want to keep your bind going. And here we have also the setup here. So giving the damage, Smurf knowing what's in Gurgitsan's hand chose to just give the damage for the Intrahana play here. So even though Gurgitsan's a little behind with that G-Assist, as we're seeing here, we ain't stopping. We are not stopping. We are even calling a booster. We're going all the way in. Double Intrahana, double Soul Blast, top 4 draws here. We're going all the way through. We're also really, that's a good drive check.
I mean, no, yeah, absolutely. Even though Gurgwitz-san did have to do that G-Assist, like you said earlier, he's still going to grade 3 first at the end of it all. So he is going to be that first person to be able to accumulate massive amounts of multi-attacks, large amounts of advantage. And, if I'm in Gurgwitz-san's position, I'm also going to try and accumulate as much pressure as I can through all these multi-attacks.
Exactly.
And I think it's interesting. We're seeing the opposite end of the spectrum compared to what we did the last game. Instead of that very like hard kind of grindy damage deny setup, like waiting until the later game to pop off and start pushing damage, Gurgitsan just opting to push, like just calling down a full board and rushing right from the get-go.
All right, now we see an Olol here coming down from Smurf's side. And also calling down an Intrahana himself as well. It will pose the question is, am I going to be in that position where do I also want to try and push Gurgwitz-san to a higher amount of damage? Or if I'm going to just try and swing with rear guards and try and farm up a large amount of hand for that multi-attack play that I know is about to come?
Exactly. I think overall, this is from both sides. This is really good setups here. This really comes down to who can outpace who. And honestly, both players right now, outside of the G-Assist, both players right now are really well paced into what they're trying to do. Looks like they're both getting their split bind zone pretty set up well. We're seeing some really good cards come out of the top 2 checks here. So this is going to be a very close match in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the ability to just grab Intrahana off of Gearcat, then call down that Intrahana, call down another Gearcat, you're just getting so much advantage off of this. This is a very nice setup.
Also, those numbers, those Gearcats are only going to get bigger from here. This is where the Karunta starts coming to play, getting rid of those Gearcats as soon as possible. You want those off. Another Intrahana. That's all 4. That is all 4 out of deck. Wow. So we know one thing for sure. Maybe there's no reason to swing into Intrahanas at all, knowing the knowledge that there's all 4 outs in present open knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much you can do to try and deny when your opponent just gets everything that they need for it anyways.
And it looks like Smurf here is thinking about some attack patterns over here. Also asking for cards in hand here from Gurgwitz-san. So like we said, is he just possibly going to be swinging into the rear guards here? Nope, it's going right into the Vanguard here, using that on boost ability to try and fill up that bind zone for the potential crackback on the Olol turn.
That is a really good top 2. But they're setting up the Re-Innovate, getting the Nabu. Very awesome step. We haven't seen Nabu go into play too much here, but honestly, into a mirror, this could be wonderful. That's a heal too, which is actually pretty good. Healing out that L, which then is now set up for the drop zone. Overall, very, very good. We were seeing an actual more normal Steam main play from both sides compared to top 8 match.
That heal was good for a multitude of reasons because it is at the end of it, it's an Uluru in your hand to help instigate the multi-attacks on your turn, and B, it gets you that grade 3 in the bind zone, in the drop zone to fuel it into the bind. Such a good check.
Wow, another good. Oh my gosh, these top 2s are insane. That was another good setup. Getting a grade 1 and shield to hand. Oh, really, really good stuff. So here we have our ride.
going
right up with the LL there. I think for Gurgit's here, starting off with that kind of G assist, not the best, kind of starting off behind, but doing everything they can to try and push as much as possible. Still getting the ride up first though does carry with it some inherent advantages. So just kind of need to see if they're able to really kind of capitalize on this, especially after seeing everything that happened in that last turn.
That hands. This is showcasing truly like the strengths of Steam Maidens, why I play Steam Maidens, because that's the kind of hand you can get when when things are going right. You hit all your gear cats, you're seeing the full combo. That's the kind of hand you have. And that's why we saw in a previous match like, why denial was getting very important, because now we're seeing that 11 card hand. What do you do against that? How do you outpace that?
All right, looks like he's using the Alol skill here to call down that Entrahana, fetch himself another gear cat here, trying to not only thin out his deck, but just accumulate as many resources as he possibly can. He might not be going for a full ladder combo, as we explained earlier, because a nice kind of mirror match scenario here is you do want to try and put your opponent at a certain damage threshold to try and prevent them to not crack back as hard as you might want them to.
Exactly.
So, we are going to try and accumulate some amount of advantage, maybe try and fetch a couple of multi-attackers here. If I'm in Gurgwitsan's position, possibly grab some heal triggers if I see them off the top for large shield value. Multiple lines of play I see here. But I think also at the end of it all, we just want to try and set up.
Exactly. I think overall this is a pretty good setup. We don't really have too much counterboss to work with here, so I think this is just a casual 3. No, we could still loop one attack. So this is a 4 attack combo here. Nothing too crazy, but I see setting up for choosing Smooth Entrahana first, maybe potentially to find some more useful stuff in that top 2. And that is swinging for 20. So because that's a little 2k off the gear, and then is 18 on the other side. A little awkward in terms of numbers, but it's okay. We can still smooth the Vanguard. Ooh, that is a trigger. So that does the defense. Shutting down the grade 1 right now, but it's okay. We can still find more stuff. That's okay. Crit in the PG. Useful because you really want that perfect guard into Elu, which we'll see a little bit. You want that a hand. You definitely perfect. You definitely want the
But now will Gurgwitsan here choose to go to the rear guard here? He can. I mean, that Elu is still big. Don't get me wrong, but do we want to try and prevent some sort of damage deny here? And it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's going in for Vanguard.
Yeah, that's actually very good to see right here. And then an Uluru going to hand as well.
Really good
so
shield.
getting some defensive options for sure, which you're definitely going to want to have. Since it's not looking like you're not gonna be able to close the game out here. This is definitely more just a setup to try and do what you can to maybe push some damage, push some guard, but also like shoring up your defenses as well to try and ensure that you get another turn after this one.
Exactly. I think here ideally you still probably want to just swing in. I would force out to 9/8 for Smurf to kind of use up all their counterblast next turn, to kind of pace it out like that. I think it's smart. It is still like, not like a crazy guard, but here we have also the Bindstone setup coming in again. So let's see how this works out.
All right, now coming back into 9/8 for Smurf's turn, we're going to see how much or how far he could extend. He does have only the 1 counterblast open, but if the Uluru is set up properly, that's still an additional counterblast to work with. There's multiple lines of play that he can do here, and if I'm in Gurgwitsan's position, I have to properly think out, what is my mapping of my damage here, right? Because I don't want to try and put myself to a high amount of damage, but I also don't want to try and strip away all these resources that I have in my hand, right? I mean, we did see that G assist earlier today, so earlier in the match. So it just goes to show, like, I have to really take into account everything here.
Yeah, definitely. We see that Uluru going to the bind, calling out is that the Illul, I think it is. One of the lulls.
Lol. A lol, oh lol, so many lol.
Oh, lol, yeah. Shout out to the AO casters with the oh lol.
Yeah, true.
Omega lols in the chat.
Yep. So we have a nice. So on this side, I can't see the entire bind zone there. But I think we're going to have a little bit of a crazier pop-up. You can even go into Nabu here if you wanted to, which I actually think is sometimes the right play, because Nabu just gets so aggressive. But instead, we're gonna go straight to the Entrahana because why not?
Mhm.
Why not get another card out of deck, right? Also,
Yeah.
shuffling is pretty good in case there's some stuff at the bottom that got stuck. Is that? Oh, is there no more? Oh no, there's a cat. Sorry, I thought I
There
didn't
was
see
a
a
cat,
cat.
yeah.
Okay, I was be like, is that a whiff?
Deck thinning, plussing, you know, selective binding, all the things. you
Look,
know?
I heard somewhere that deck thinning is deck winning.
Yeah, I believe that's an old Latin proverb.
From the
that
ancient
carried on.
texts.
Yeah. See, looks like nabbing an Uluru there. Adding that to hand.
Yes, that is exactly what's going on here. So it looks like
Gurgleton choosing the PG here. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Very smart, if I do say so, because as the matches are going to progress. Oh wow, a critical trigger.
Yep. So
that
PG,
is
very
getting
good decision
bigger
already.
and bigger. Yeah, absolutely. Oh wow, and a draw trigger as well from Smurf.
Wow,
That deck
okay.
fitting scenario, as we saw, putting in some pretty good work here.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Nice big Enterana swing coming down right here.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You got to think now, and for Gurgleton, do I take this damage? Do I push myself to 5? It will give me some counterblasts to work with, but you have to think, is my bind zone set up? Do I have enough cards in hand to be able to facilitate the combos that I need? Or am I just going to slap down that PG and try to farm up cards, as many resources as I can for what's about to come?
Yeah, definitely. Going into their turn with only 1 damage, not the worst thing, but not necessarily what you want to see either. But we do have the option to counter charge potentially, I think, as well. It just kind of depends on what we see hit the board here.
Yes, precisely. Honestly, here with only 1 counterblast working with, it's gonna be a little tough. But now that I'm thinking about that, bind zone doesn't have a heal in it still, so which is painful. Can be a little painful here, but we can still do a little bit of stuff here and kind of set up more, but it's not enough to probably apply enough pressure. But I don't know. We'll have to see. It kind of depends on drive checks. Maybe we'll see a heal in drive checking too, which would be big here.
Okay, looks like Smurf choosing the double intercept here for the Entrahana column, for the Olol column here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's smart. We know there's at least 1 in hand, so.
Oh, wow. Grabbing the Reinnovate wing here. Very nice, in my opinion, because that's still a very nice setup card in case you don't want to try and go for as much damage and as much pressure, because that's still at the end of it. You can recall out the Reinnovate wing to be able to accumulate a massive amount of cards in your bind zone that you otherwise might not have had.
Exactly. Also, Reanimate just really good setup too. So using Elu's skill here to go into it, and then next turn, if you ride again, you can actually just so blast and start increasing that bind zone, hopefully.
Yeah, try and get those pieces into the bind to try and, ideally get a more aggressive push turn after this one.
Very nice back and forth, if I do say so myself. We are seeing, very similar plays on both ends, but at the same time, it's more so an amount of resources, amount of how much accumulation of damage am I giving to my opponent. Both of these players are playing it out exceptionally well.
Yeah, definitely working just like with just the pieces that they're getting, the damage that they're given to work with. A bit of maybe slightly bit of a struggle turn for Gurgit here with just the 1 damage, but still, making plays despite that. Let's see.
I think we're reading some cards here, ladies and gentlemen. If we learn anything, is that reading cards is important.
Yeah,
Exactly, it is.
So I believe it's another ancient Latin proverb that I've heard where, reading the card explains the card. So definitely something to be taking into consideration here.
Does it also take into account that, I don't know, man, I don't read.
Really good drive check there. We saw a critical trigger come down and also a re-ride, which would be very nice to see here. We definitely want to see that re-ride.
Especially with that Reinnovate on board.
Exactly.
Definitely going to want that to get that soul to help fuel that bind zone going into the next turn.
And then Smurf looks like it's just going to be a simple, I believe it's just a 20k shield here minimum, or it just might be a 15k shield. I actually didn't see the trigger come down. No, it is a 20k shield. Okay. Getting the Uluru is really nice too. If he's going to be putting it into bind zone, does have an option to put it into his bind zone and then call it off with the Olol skill. So just again, one of the most amazing things about checking a heal trigger is just like it's good, but it's even better in Steam Maidens because it just has so much utility.
Yeah, it's so good that like it's such a good piece that you see Steam Maiden deck lists often. You know, they run the 3 Uluru heal trigger and just the 1 heal guardian. Heal guardian's like such a good valuable piece in decks, but you know with a deck like Steam Maiden, that name and the 0 on that is just too important to pass up.
And as we see here, he is calling down that Uluru here through the Olol skill. So he has his ladder all set up. He's lining it up right now, putting it on the side. He's going to start that climb as we've been seeing for the past couple of times. And is it enough to try and push Gergwitz over the edge, though? We do see a Naboo come out as well. That's a very interesting option here. Normally when someone puts down the Naboo, they're going to try and put as much pressure as they possibly can because Naboo does have that guard restrict, and you might be taking into account what your opponent has in your hand.
Precisely. I think the Naboo play can be very, very lethal sometimes because you kind of forget just, you know, if you say you don't have the perfect guard, or say you have to guard other stuff awkwardly, and then Naboo's the final attack. Sometimes that could be a finisher, like just double crit, put it all on Naboo. It's a PG or die.
Yep.
All right, and Gergwitz, of course, taking his time here, making sure that he's got to properly map out the attack patterns. He's seeing what Smurf is probably seeing certain lines of play, what he has in his hand. And these are definitely things you have to take into account, especially in something like a top 4 game. I mean, we've got some Chrono Jets on the line here. It all matters at the end of the day. Every single card is mattering here.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely some deep contemplation going on here, making sure, because like you said, everything matters at this moment. So like even just the slightest little slip up could end up costing you the game, especially in a game like this that's been going just very evenly back and forth. You really don't want to be the one to have that slight slip up, because it could just all go downhill right from there.
Gergwitz opting to take that damage here. Unfortunately, no damage trigger off of that. Pushing himself to 4 damage here. This could potentially be a very high pressuring scenario for Gergwitz, and for 984 Smurf, he might be seeing blood here, trying to go for the kill.
Yes, exactly, because we have the grade 2 set up, and I believe we'll be going to a grade 3 as well. So this will be, these numbers are going to get bigger and bigger, but dropping down the Uluru kind of to help a little bit with that guard, kind of going through. We haven't seen too many heals on Gergwitz's side as well, so there's still a chance he is at higher damage, so he could make it through.
Mm-hmm.
He is using that bind zone. He is using that Uluru skill, though, very well, though, setting up that bind zone. So, you know, in the off scenario that there is a way that he does have that crackback turn, he is well set up to climb.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I think we're still. Is there a grade 0 Uluru on Gergwitz's side? I don't know if I'm seeing one yet in the bind zone. So
That's a crit trigger.
Was a double crit off a no guard.
That is
wow.
That is.
Oh,
there
well.
There's the heal. But then we need one more.
We need one more.
Can we?
It was a trigger,
but
it was
not the trigger
the
we
one that you wanted to
needed.
see. Yeah.
So close. That would have been three defenses.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Get out like that.
You
I
know,
saw the heal go down. I was like, oh my gosh, there's hope.
there's a shot. There's a shot, but
that
yeah,
double
no.
crit it out.
Double crit.
Part is, if that,
The
that
bane of
Naboo.
many a card fighter.
I would have gone to Naboo, even if that was a perfect guard situation. Again, as I brought up, Naboo can't close out games. Speaking, if say Gergwitz not completely no past that, it would have all went to Naboo, and then probably the Naboo could have finished it off there as well. So that was a very clean double crit finish.
Absolutely. Goes to show that, you know, Naboo having that ability to just close out games, and Smurf knowing that too, contemplating what Gergwitz had in his hand in the earlier stages of the game, and then taking that into account, and then seeing, okay, I'm at a certain threshold where I'm able to push you over the edge, and I'm going to try and do that.
Exactly. Correct. Yeah, that was
a
game.
That was a back and forth.
Again, we saw another second place situation there where I'm sorry, second place, going second situation where they went second and they were able to win through. It was a little bit more, you know, centered. Normally going first, it gives you kind of like a lot of edge, but here going second still broke through. So
that game,
absolutely.
It was almost like a fencing match, where it was like, you know, it was like it was very back and forth, like the slightest little slip up, and then, you know, it cost you the match, you know. And I think you know, having to no guard probably was in a desperate situation. It's like, as long as there's nothing too dangerous that's flipped up on these drive checks, I'll probably be okay. But you know, those are the risks you take, and sometimes they pay off, and sometimes they go very south, and you see double crits, and then that's the game.
But I will like to say, you know, congratulations, of course, to the both players. Making the top 4, though, is still an amazing accomplishment. And of course, you know, Gergwitz-san does have that option to try and still fight for that Chrono Jet promo. Yeah, not the Gergwitz promo, but the Chrono Jet promo for the top 4 for the 3rd place contention. And then, of course, 904 Smurf will be advancing to the final round, which we will be seeing in a bit, ladies and gentlemen. But I think with that in mind, we are going to be just taking a little bit of a break and get you guys excited, get you guys ready for that final game. Who's going to be taking it all?
Yes, get ready for finals. See you guys in a little bit. Stay tuned. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Bye. Hello and welcome back to Bushiroad Rumble Online 2023. Amazing stuff so far. But we've been doing an amazing job. We've been watching stuff going amazing. It's just we are officially at the finals. This is it. This is the final. This is it. We've been working for this. How do you guys feel? Because I'm shaking.
Yeah, no. It's been very exciting. You know, we've I think this is that last round was the first time we've seen a Steam Maiden mirror over the last 2 days, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of interesting. And it's kind of funny how it took us all the way until the semifinals to see what we expected to be, you know, like see a lot of. And I believe like even going in, I don't know if we have our other semifinals match decided yet, but regardless of what happens, it's not going to be another Steam Maiden mirror. We definitely have Steam Maidens in the top, but it's going to be against something else. So that's been kind of interesting to me, actually.
Pretty good. I'm very happy. I like Steam Maidens. I like it as a deck, but mirrors are mirrors. It's more interesting to see kind of two different decks come out at each other than, you know, the same deck come at each other. Especially like a match we just saw. It was identical decks, like literally to the T.
Literally identical.
Like
I think
the starters.
The only
starters were
difference
different.
is,
Let's
yeah,
be
the
real.
starters were different, and they had different crit trigger arts. So there was,
Oh
there
my
was
gosh,
the only
the
way to
arts. That's
to
right.
check. Yeah,
Makes the difference, okay? Yeah, no, we've definitely had a lot of exciting games throughout the entire weekend, if I do say so myself. I would just like to, you know, to ask both you and you, Orange, and of course you, Ty, as well. Any memorable ones that stick out to y'all?
Yes, definitely the Reindeer Highlander versus Luard, which was man-long match. That match was peak. It was just, it felt so on fire the whole time. That was definitely my favorite match by far. What about you, TIE Fighter?
You know, I think there was like a couple. The one that immediately pops up in my mind though is just, you know, we had that that MFD deck that I think was in top 8. I don't think has made it past top 8. I don't think. I'll have to double check the bracket to be sure. But no, that was just such a very it was a very quick, very explosive game that we saw. And you know, as kind of as short as it was, I don't know, I'm a big fan of, you know, just the what is it, like the fanfare, the big kind of like explosive type things, you know, the big pop-offs, you know.
The
so
Astro Poets.
yeah so
Astro Poets, not Astral Poets.
yeah exactly. So, you know, just kind of see that. And then I'd have to agree with you as well, Orange, that Luard game against Reindeer, that was also very, very enjoyable to watch. How about you, Fuzzy? Was anything that that stood out to you?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, if you're asking me, of course, it's gonna be that good old Dragonic Overlord match that we got to see yesterday. Just having the boy, the Rebirth, slap down onto the board, lock it, and then just being able to have that ability to wipe out the board, just really highlighted what I love about Kagero so much at the moment. I mean, yes, of course, at the end of it, it didn't end up winning, but you know, it still did what it did, and it just makes me more excited to pick up the deck again, really. Just being able to see, you know, little different types of text options. That's one of the things I personally like doing, right? I like seeing the different types of text options other people are playing, seeing how I could take my personal spin on it. And, you know, that's something I hope that people are doing at home too, is like they see maybe a particular build that they really enjoy. And they're like, you know what? I really like this clan, or maybe I played this particular clan in the premium space. And these are some really cool ideas that I might want to incorporate into the V premium space. And maybe I want to try and pick up V premium myself. And, you know, it's kind of like that. That was kind of like that match, what it was for me in a nutshell. But, of course, you know, very similar to TIE Fighter, another one of those highlights was, of course, that Mystery Flare Dragon deck. You know, that crazy pop-off, while it didn't get that extra turn, really did show that, you know, additional drive checks, crits, and all of that good stuff is still scary at the end of the day, and can really bring out some PTSD for all the premium people.
Yeah,
sure. Exactly.
Definitely. You can definitely count me amongst one of those premium players for sure. And I think it's funny too, like you know, about like you mentioned like things popping up and like seeing like some ideas you want to incorporate, especially like since you brought up Overload. I've been tinkering around with Kagero in premium, actually, just because Blazing Flare Dragon is one of my favorite cards, like all the way back from like BTO2, just because I adore that artwork, and the fact that he got like his V retrain just made it like very exciting for me to want to build with. And then I've got just like a bunch of Kagero stuff sitting around. And then, you know, seeing the Rebirth, where Rebirth's one of my favorite Overlord forms, like the end, the Rebirth, always love the really look. So yeah, no, definitely picking up a lot of things that I'm seeing, whether for V Premium or in the Premium format, because, you know, honestly, in a lot of ways, they kind of are transitory to me, you know. So it's like, if I have it in Premium, more likely than not, I probably have enough pieces to play it in V as well. So there's just all kinds of fun deck ideas coming out of this event for sure.
Exactly. Well, looks like we do have our brackets. So now we get to see who is facing who. Very exciting stuff. I can't wait to see who are our top two. Let's find out.
And it looks like we have Manlong taking it over T-Dub88, advancing himself to the final round. And of course, on the lower bracket, 984 Smurf advancing over Gurgwitson. And it's going to be a finals of Manlong playing Luard against 984 Smurf playing Steam Maidens.
Yep, exactly. It's going to be a really good match. We're about to see that Steam Maiden Luard match. It's back. It's back again. We'll have to see exactly how that goes. I'm really excited to see that action. But we also have the deck review just one more time. Look at these beautiful decks. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on here. Just a reminder of sort of what we're gonna see.
Right, of course, you know, these two decks made it all the way to the final rounds. We definitely want to make sure that all the viewers at home know exactly what we're looking at over here. And of course, right here, the first list we see is 984 Smurfs, Steam Maiden, bread and butter list that we saw earlier on stream today. And yeah, if it works, don't break it.
Yeah, right. No need to change what is already working very, very well. And then I believe maybe I missed something, but yeah, no, we've got Steam Maidens, like you said, the very standard list, and then Manlong going through with this Luard list as well that we've already seen on stream a couple of times. Going to be seeing it a third time as well.
Exactly.
I believe Manlong was also last year's VBRO champion as well. So
yes,
making it all the way to the finals of this year's event as well. Just really showing their the skill that they have highlighted here. Because I think Manlong, when we looked at the top 8 standings, you know, Drakon was the undefeated of Swiss, seat 1, and then Manlong seat 8, climbing all the way to the finals. So very, very exciting to see for sure.
I interviewed Manlong once just for last year's Bureau. I'm excited to do it again if we see it again. If not, I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. That's the whole fun and beauty of this. We're about to see two very good players go hand in hand into each other. They're both very known players, by the way. I do want to pinpoint that. These are both known. Manlong is known, and also like the 984 Smurf is also known. And Manlong being the VBRO champion of last year's event also is going to be an insanely good match, because we are seeing some top level performance here between two very strong players. We'll see who will be the champion. We're about to find out who's gonna be crowned.
Absolutely. We're here talking about who might be it, where we could just find out ourselves, right? So how about you guys ready for the final round of BRO 2023? Ty, are you ready?
I'm ready. I think you know, it's time to see like who's gonna get that playset of Chrono Jets.
Exactly. I'm very excited, guys. This is the final match of BRO V Premium 2023. Get excited. Get ready. Once we get this match going, this is it. This is the final moment. We're about to see all the hard work, day 1 into day 2, into brackets, into everything. We're about to see some amazing finisher plays here. Can't wait.
But before that, I do just want to add one quick little thing. You know, if anything that you've seen this weekend has gotten you hyped up, has gotten you, you know, all excited, you know, I'm ready to play some games of V Premium myself. Well, you know, you might have missed out on this weekend, but you still have the Spring Fests that are happening all around the world. So if there might be a Spring Fest near your area, try and find one. Maybe get some friends together, have yourselves a good old time with some V Premium action.
Exactly.
But yeah, like you said, you know, grab yourself a snack, get yourself cozy, get yourself ready. We got Chrono Jets on the line. Who's going to be taking it all? We're about to find out.
Final match.
Final match.
Top 2.
Yeah, and this is actually a very familiar game for Manlong going into this as well, because not only is this another Steam Maiden match they're playing into in top 8, but I believe that this is also a rematch from yesterday that Manlong and Smurf met in Swiss rounds yesterday with Manlong winning there. So gonna see if he can have a repeat of that here today.
I'm excited.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if Manlong is going to be going for that tried true tested tactic of do I damage deny in a certain scenario against Steam Maidens, against 9084 Smurf, just to be able to, once again, farm up as many resources as I possibly can, create a large amount of advantage through all the force markers I'm going to be trying to accumulate, and then just push him over the edge on the following crackback turn.
Yep, exactly. And it looks like I do think that this changes depending on if you're going first or second, of course, and also how that hand's doing. So it looks like Manlong is taking first this time around, which makes it a little easier as a Luard player. You get those 3 beautiful force markers riding up. You can even tempo it out with those 3 force markers a lot easier than going second.
Yeah, absolutely. Luard is one of those decks that just has a very, very potent, very, very scary ride-up. A ride-up that's not only scary in V Premium, but can also be scary in the Premium format as well. So it just goes to show just how strong of a strategy that can be, especially if you're going first into your opponent's going to be on a grade 2 while you're doing all of that very strong Luard plays.
Okay.
Exactly.
And going over to 984 Smurf's side, we see the Lost Gear Dog A come down from his ride, and then we see looks like he's getting a Reanimate wing off of the Reanimate wing reveal. So speculating on that just makes me think, all right, I'm trying to set up as much as I possibly can, knowing about what's about to come, perhaps a large amount of crit pressure on my opponent's side of the field. Or on his side of the field.
Yeah. That'll work as well.
Very strong start for sure. And this is actually really, really key here, that if you're going into the Wheel Fall here, you can go for the double play against. This is exactly what we're going to see here. We're going into the Karen, using Karen's skill to countercharge that back. Potentially, maybe we'll see the other Wheel Fall come down because you will refund all your costs.
Yeah, just as an aside too, I just want to give a shout out to Manlong's shuffling, because man, it's a very beautiful shuffle, just very, very smooth. I was just mesmerized for a moment there as he was shuffling up that deck.
Oh, passing turn, okay. Not letting them try to play happen again, choosing to pass here. Again, we're going back to that whole slow down the pace as much as possible. Don't let that 11 card hate come through. Just forcing out this way. So here we are going with the swing, choosing to just keep applying that pressure. That is. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Just guarding for a no hit right there. Yeah.
They're guarding. That's right. So here we go. Going to the Luard turn here. Again, we could just start setting up, farming those force markers, using borrowing skills, potentially find maybe Eldana or something, and then just discarding it out. We are seeing nothing though.
Yeah. I think
both of these players playing it very quick, very fast paced. A lot of fast cards being flown out everywhere. But yeah, it looks like both of them are just like, yep, I'm going through the motions. I know exactly what my deck does. I know exactly what your deck does, and we're just gonna try and hash it out as fast as we can here.
Yeah, I think that just speaks to, like, playing in these types of tournaments. That's the best thing you can do, is just be as prepared as possible, play test as much as possible, play your deck, play against all the meta decks as much as possible. So that way, whenever situations come up, no matter how niche they may be, you're going to be in a position of familiarity, so that you don't really have to stress and think too much. You just can go right into what it is that you need to be doing.
Exactly. Here we are going for that double force setup. We've seen this so many times now. It's always interesting. A lot of times I see players set up with the force on each side, but Manlong has always done it in this double force, I guess, just to make those perfect numbers. Especially, going first, that these numbers matter a lot more.
Yeah, that's very true. Like in each game that we've seen Manlong play, it's always been like the double, and I think like even at the end of turn re-ride, all 3 force markers go to one circle, and then it's not until there's 4 on 1 that we've noticed them put it onto the other side. And I think honestly, it just kind of speaks to, it's better to just have more power in one thing, because that's probably the column you're going to be multi-attacking with. The other one you're probably going to swing with first, just as an easy little poke. So you might as well just put all the power on one to like force as much guard as possible in those scenarios.
Yeah, one thing I want to highlight here from Manlong's side of the field. So off of those superior calls, it looks like he called down the Nightmare Painter as well as the Decremps. Nightmare Painter actually being really well. That kind of almost telegraphs if I have a certain amount of cards in my drop zone, if I want to try and accumulate that crit pressure early. So a very nice call if I do say so myself.
I agree. Also, kind of slowing down the pace just a little bit, not applying too much damage, as we discussed in previous matches, watching Manlong play, kind of deciding how much damage you want to apply, choosing to only really give that one damage here, and just passing turn once more, just rewriting back. So very smart, just for forcing the Steam Maiden player here to have to think through how much resources they want to use.
Yep, we do see that Intrahana coming down here for a 984 Smurf, trying to accumulate some sort of resource here. But again, with only that one counterblast, will it be enough? You really are going to have to rely on having that Uluru in your hand to try and properly set up here.
To be honest, because they called the Intrahana over to the force marker, I actually don't think there will be anything crazy happening on the right column over there. It's all going to be on the Intrahana side. There might be like maybe on Abu or something being called, but I think it'll stop there. I think we're going for the slower play here. Wow, another gear cat.
Another cat.
Oh my
Never
goodness.
enough gear cats. Never enough gear cats.
I'll take a gear puppy. That's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Both?
There you go.
Yeah, it's true. You can. Oh, there it is.
Hey, there it is.
Your dog. Your dog.
That's
Ask,
why
ladies and gentlemen, and you shall receive.
Why not both?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's actually kind of funny. But I wasn't expecting it. It actually works so well. So here we have probably dropping the Uber potentially here, because you might as well, if we have a heal in hand or something like that, we can utilize it here. And yeah, thinking sort of what to do here. We have the card we want to grab, and then the discard. So choosing through which. Oh, okay. Choosing to discard the Elu here. Actually, there has to be another Elu in hand there. There's no way there isn't, because otherwise that you are kind of making it harder for yourself to deal with not having enough force markers.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're in this position, you want to try and accumulate as much advantage as you can, and having to discard that Ulu will definitely be detrimental, because you want to try and create as much pressure as you can by having multiple force markers in that one column.
Exactly. We had the Reanimate actually come out, which we don't see very often. We haven't seen too much of Reanimate action. So far as top three, well, you bind two, and then top three bind one and call two. So we saw that setup here happen, which is pretty nice. And then calling out the Elu just to have that little bit of pressure. As I mentioned earlier, not putting the Intrahana on the force marker made it very distinct to us, at least, that there is no heal coming down this turn, because you would have put it on the force marker for it to hit. So instead, we set up this way, which is also good because this makes numbers. It forces the opponent to have to actually guard, like in very specific ways. The heal is only at 15k, so normally. So
yeah, we see that.
All right, and we're just
damage.
Yeah.
And let's
Just
see who's
taking
going to be
wow,
off the top
that's
two. Oh wow, yeah.
top.
Oh well.
Well,
We see
that's
Antrahana
beautiful.
and an Alol in the checks off of there, and putting that Alol into his hand, and then Antrahana into bind zone. Very nice setup, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, definitely. So like while this turn may not be like the major like full on ladder climb kind of multi-attack aggressive turn here, definitely just still setting up to see it later on at the very least. And I'm kind of curious to see here, Manlong took a damage here, which is, it's kind of interesting, especially in the last Steam Maiden matchup. They were very, very defensive. So I'm kind of curious if they're gonna let anything else hit the rest of this turn.
I mean, if you're gonna let anything hit,
that's an ogre.
Oh,
and that's a crit. That's a heal.
It's
It
a
doesn't
heal.
go off.
Okay,
Heal.
wow.
That makes that column huge.
My heart stops for just a second.
Yeah, just a second. And I feel like
five.
if you're Manlong, you probably had when you say no guard and you're at 3 damage, and the first drive check is a crit, your heart stops for just a second.
Can they guard this?
I'm like, oh no.
Can they guard this? Wait, this is big right here. They're thinking how to guard this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards.
Both columns are very big right now. These are the Elu here, I believe, is swinging for 28 potentially, but the Korean swing on the side is swinging for a very large number. That has 2 triggers on it. I think it's in the 40s.
Yes,
and sometimes Lord's hand can be pretty fake. I don't think we have a perfect guard, because I think the perfect guard would have gone to the Elu. This actually could be very scary. If Manlong doesn't die here, he's not going to have a big hand.
We're potentially looking at a lethal situation depending on what he has. I mean, thankfully he can fall back on that Decrepus that he has, giving his Nightmare Painter the ability to at least have a 10k intercept. But the question is that enough? We did see 2 triggers come down. Plus 20k onto the board is nothing to scoff at for sure.
See, they're thinking through how to guard, because this is big here. They might lose a lot of hand here. And going to 5 while Smurf is at 1 is super scary in my eyes. Okay, just barely guarding through.
Wow.
Whew. So we saw like some really big hand advantage. We are not seeing that as much today, but at least we got the ride. We got the ride. We could come back here. We think we only see one heal
Yeah.
so far, so we still have a chance of a lot of deck thinning happening and kind of getting that 5 damage back down to like a lower amount. But right now, this is looking not too well for Manlong, mainly because of the damage differences being from 1 and 5. This is not the kind of situation you want to be in, but it's also showcasing just how strong maidens can actually be, because we saw a pretty insane pop off turn here with only one counterblast. By the way, one counterblast, and that's how much work that deck just did.
Absolutely. If I'm in Manlong's position here, I'm thinking to myself, how much advantage do I need to accumulate here? I need to be drawing a lot of cards. I need to be trying to at least try and checking myself at least a heal trigger here to get myself some sort of cushion, some wiggle room over here. Because if I'm staring down Steam Maidens at 5 damage with a lot of multi-attacks coming my way, you definitely don't want to be at 5 damage.
Exactly. And the scariest part about this is if you give damage, you are potentially giving 4 open counterblasts to Smurf, and that means full combo. Like this is a very tough spot to be in. Right now, Manlong is in a rock and a hard place, because they could push here, potentially farm, everything would be 2 damage, but at what risk?
Yeah, definitely doing a lot of contemplation here, trying to figure out what the play is here. At the very least, I wonder just how many Abyssal Hours are we going to see in this turn? That's been a very key tenet of Manlong's strategy, is just like farming with those Abyssal Owls, and can get at least, a couple for sure. It's just a matter of, is that the play to do here? And if it is that going to be enough?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think I'm with you on this one. I think going for probably triple Abyssal and maybe a Warfesta or something might be the better approach, which we are seeing that happen right here.
Yep.
Potentially triple Abyssal, if there's enough Abyssal Owls anyway in deck. That
And
is
there
triple
is.
Abyssal.
Triple Abyssal Owl.
You have to. You don't have a choice
Absolutely.
here. That hand
Yeah,
is small. You want to deck thin. You want to draw cards. You want to still apply some pressure, but you like Manlong's aware they are not. There's no way they're killing Smurf here. Smurf is surviving, and if Smurf is surviving, that means how much OP counterblast are you willing to give, and is it enough to survive with the counterblast given?
Absolutely. We also do see another Decrepus come back down, so that's definitely another way to help combat. Having the ability to make those Abyssal Owls into 10k intercepts is also nice. It basically funds a little more fuel to your resources, helps you farm a little more to be able to survive what might be coming up.
Definitely, because at the same time too, just because you're getting these Abyssal Owls on board and you're going to be getting draws for them, you have no way of guaranteeing what those draws are going to be. So I think getting those intercepts on board means just at the very least, you're giving yourself a little bit of a cushion with 20k shield.
Exactly.
And that could potentially make all the difference.
I agree. I think having the double front row interceptors really helps. And obviously, unless there's a Karunta or something on Smurf side, we won't be really seeing that going away. So I think ideally you definitely want to set up for like a defensive play while also drawing a ton of cards. And I think we're probably going to call Morfessa here. It looks like we're still going to do Morfessa. Here's the Soul Blast 3 just to draw 3 cards. Here we go. There we go. Getting that hand back a little bit, kind of helping out. I think here we're going to probably call something to that Force Marker Circle. That's all we really have left. And then probably just going to go in and try to push and get through as much of that hand as possible. But like I said, the scariest thing here is giving 4 counterblasts. Like where is the stopping point? And I don't even know like where you stop attacking. Do you attack with Vanguard first? Do you call Morfessa down? What's the play?
Yeah. Asking for a hand count there. I think I saw, was that 8 cards, I think?
It was 8 and a quick shield, I believe. It was
Yes.
either 8 or 9 with a quick shield.
So definitely, especially with only 1 damage on Smurf's side there, it's quite a bit to try and push through. But
Eldana.
Oh wow!
So Eldana does have a rearguard attacking skill. When it attacks, you can actually pop 2 rearguards and draw 2 cards with a counterblast. So you don't see it very often, but you can do it.
Yeah,
and more than likely what's probably happening is those Abyssal Owls in the backboard are going to be going away to be able to at least draw a couple more cards there. So very nice to be able to farm up enough resources, and we'll see if it's enough to survive what might be coming from Smurf's side.
Exactly. So this is more of a farming turn again. So Smurf here, Manlong is showing here the true ability to farm. Farming with Abyssal Owl and then also farming with the Eldana.
It's so funny. I apologize. We're talking about farming, and all I can imagine is Luard with a pair of overalls. He's farming, everybody. He's farming
for hand.
Already going in with the Vanguard first by the looks of it. Checking what's in that bind zone.
I think they already swung actually.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah. I swung to a rear guard and put all of that. There was a crit that's on the Abyssal Alice. The Abyssal Alice, I believe, is swinging for 3 damage right now.
Very
Which is
interesting.
actually
Okay.
really spicy if you think about it, because that pushes them to 4, forcing them to hard guard the Eldana.
Yeah, it does give them 3 counterblasts to work with on the following turn, but if you're accumulating a large amount of... Oh, sorry, 3 counterblasts to work with. I do apologize, but it's you're at 4, and then, you know, coming back onto Manlong's turn, if he manages to survive Smurf's turn, then yeah, like you said, 4 damage coming in for potential crit lethal is something to take into account.
I think what's smart to keep in mind here is because they're taking 3 damage here, it's super important because you don't want the 4 damage. It lowers the attack by 1. Oh, that was a really big. I didn't realize that was 4 damage.
Whoa.
I think it was a double crit actually.
It was a double crit, yes.
Woo, wow, that's actually even spicier and also scary. Giving out that double, just giving up that's 4 CP. I don't know what else to say. That is so scary. That is very scary territory.
I mean, thankfully, if it looks like for Smurf, he's going to be able to successfully guard it with just the Uluru over here. Maybe a couple more cards, actually. I mean, it is a few force markers looking down here on that side, so,
yeah, exactly. Just a couple.
Just a few, you know? But that being said, it will just be a accumulation of cards in Smurf's hand and potentially not enough to see on his climb turn over here, because we do see a couple of cards coming down from the other side of the board. I'm just trying to look into the bind zone to see if he has an Uluru in his hand, because I'm trying to see if there might be a successful ladder climb coming out, but I am not too sure on that. Oh, we see a Karunta come down.
Which means that's going away.
Oh, he's talking down.
That's big. We were just talking about this. I was like, unless there's a Karunta, you know, that's going to stay on the board, but there it goes.
Yeah,
there it goes. Bye.
Tucking the cramps down, shutting down the intercepts that Manlong would have been able to have is very nice. Shutting down 2 potential high-powered shield intercepts.
Should be 1, right? Because the Eldana.
Oh yes, because it's a grade 3. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you're fine. But yeah, the Karunta play. This is actually ideally another reason you want to run Karunta for 2 reasons. 1, obviously, because you can tutor out any card in your deck. But 2, you just get a free Entrahana. You get free Entrahana, and also you can shut down Luard like this. If the opponent, sometimes Luard players will actually run 2 and will call both interceptors out, so that doesn't happen. But I probably hear that situation didn't come up easily enough for Manlong to do that. But yeah, if you do this, then there goes your interceptors. Both have 5 damage. Oh my goodness. Whew.
Yeah, this has been a very back and forth game. You know, we did see that immediate push come out from Swerve to Manlong to push him to 5 damage, but you know, Manlong himself managing to come back from that, farm a large amount of hand, push Smurf himself also to 5 damage. A really nice back and forth, and of course, something that warrants a final game for sure.
Exactly. Because you want to see this is a good match.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, Manlong like already proved that like this matchup is something that they're no stranger to. But yeah, I think losing that 10k intercept at the very least, I think that's what made doing that Eldona play. Like you said, you don't see it very often. I think this is even the first time we've seen it over the 2 days of this event. But you know, really kind of came in clutch, because it was like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna build a board with my Luard, just get a bunch of free draws, and then turn those essentially free calls into even more draws to try and weather the storm that is most assuredly coming right now.
Yes, that is very correct. That's very correct. And overall, honestly, that hand is pretty massive here. I think overall, very well played to just get that hand going to deal with the pop-off turn. Like I said, giving 4 counterblasts is scary, but because Smurf used a lot of the counterblasts on some of the Karuntas and the Entrahanas, actually, in my opinion, makes this turn more doable.
Absolutely. Just goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, that if you give Luard a pair of overalls, they can farm pretty well.
Absolutely.
Joke of the day.
All right.
We got the grade 2 coming in here, and then probably going into the grade 3, and we might be going into the grade 4. I'm pretty sure. So we'll have a little bit of multi-attacking here. The only thing is that right side with the Karunta is actually a very small column right now, unless there's some triggers that are checked. So that looks like a 2 to pass.
No, that was definitely a PG coming down.
Okay.
That is huge for Smurf.
Yeah.
Well, I say that, but also at the same time, we do have to take into account that Manlong is going to be having a crit pressure on his following turn.
And like, there are a lot of damage now that'll be happening there too.
But
So
still nice to
should be
see.
able
Heal
to
triggers are always
guard
nice.
through this. Because that bind zone isn't like that big. So the Elu on that other side isn't huge. She's big, but she's not like massive.
No, I think I count 9 cards in the bind zone currently at the moment. So
Yeah, so just +9. So she is 21, but 31.
yeah,
Oh, sorry,
so
23, 32. Should be 32.
oh wow, it might have potentially been bigger because I don't think Manlock has this. Oh my goodness!
Oh my gosh! You see
All right,
here
Whoa.
first.
So
Was
Manlock
that a
having
top deck?
That was indeed a top deck. Manlock having no cards in his hand, top decking into an additional Luard, and now using it to
Oh my
stride
gosh.
himself into the drag driver Luard. Oh my
God,
goodness!
that was the slap of the century. I don't know how else to put it. That
Oh,
was
wow.
the true.
Wow.
That was insane
You
to watch. I
guys-
was not expecting that.
You all out there can't see me, but my jaw literally dropped for
Yes.
about a solid 10-15 seconds. Just wow. I mean, this is
that's
just what we've
insane.
seen every single game with Men Long here. Is like every once the grade 3 turns start, just a fresh Luard
Slap it
every
down.
single turn. And of course,
He's-
you know, with the drag driver kind of like pseudo stride ability, you just get a board. You just get a board as long as you have a CB open, and this is exactly what we're seeing.
Wow, he's given the people what he wants. Is like, no, people want to see these force markers. I gotta do it. And let's talk about these calls. Double Charon into a Dekrams. I see a Charon there and a Morfessa. Big beat sticks coming down onto the board with potential intercepts on top of that, accumulating some resources back with that Charon. Very nice calls.
Yes,
Wow,
I
wow.
totally agree. I think this is a really strong board setup. I do not know how big Smurf's hand is, but everything is swinging for lethal at this point. This could be it. This could be the moment. We'll have to see here, but
Yeah, this
you know,
could be
this
the-
could be a
the-
very big turn.
Could be the deal closer for sure.
Absolutely. That crit pressure is online. You know, depending on what Smurf has in his hand, he has about 6-ish cards in his hand by the looks of things. You know, he really has to take into account, am I going to be PGing that Vanguard? Do I need to? Is there crits on the line when it comes to Manlong's drive checks? So much that we need to be thinking about here.
And also, I want to note the Karen calls here, adding that 3K, making everything just that much harder to guard. Really contemplating kind of like this is the true setup here. That deck then is huge too. I suspect there to be quite a bit of triggers left in there. We're doing a trigger count right now. This is it. This is close. This is really close.
Yeah, it's I think it's really all going to kind of come down to like how are you going to map out your guards here when you're in Smurf's position? How are you going to map these out? And you know, depending on these drive checks too, will it even end up being enough?
Oh my goodness. I just had a thought and I'm wondering if it's going to be happening. Do you think we're going to see the Abyss Router come back?
It's
Depending
possible.
Depending on what Manlong gets in his drive checks, he does have that ability to use the Morfessa,
Yes.
call down the Abyss Router, use the Abyss Router. If he checks a trigger, call down that trigger, just create this massive amount of attack pressure.
I agree. Completely agree with that. Very possible. This number
Yeah.
alone right here is already pretty big. So this is 8, 38, 43, and with the back roll 11K, this is 54. Should be 54. A lot of big numbers here. So we have quite a bit of guards. So that's 28 plus another 15. That's 48. I think that was just enough. Not 100% there. I think it was a little. I think there's more. I think we need a 5K more guard because that was 28, 38. 53 plus, that was 58, I believe.
Wow. Yeah. I think because the Bronwyn is plus
Bronwyn is 38
38.
on its own.
Mm.
Plus an 11K in the back row.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was enough.
All right, and now looking like Surf
No
is
guard on the
taking it here.
Vanguard. Wow.
Okay.
Oh
no.
my goodness.
Dang. Wow. And hitting the defense. And hitting the again get the chance to draw a
Wow.
card.
That
does change the pick.
huge right here.
So you're out guarding with again another Uru, really showcasing how strong this card is. Just want to let that be known. This card is part of the meat and sauce of what makes Steam Man so strong. Not gonna lie. It's just such
Meat
a
and
good
sauce,
card.
I'd say it's the whole lasagna if we're talking
Yeah.
about
It's the
it.
whole
Oh my lord.
lasagna. So here we are calling out. We're not going to see that play here, unfortunately, as much as we would love to see that play. It's not going to happen because obviously we didn't see any triggers in the drive checks. So this is just, I think this is a PG situation here. Oh no, we're using Uru again. Oh no, we're just straight guarding.
Oh
we're just
yeah,
straight
we're
guarding
just
triggers.
dropping all the triggers in the hand right now.
Yep, yep. That should be enough. And that's yeah, that's it. We're swapping
Wow.
back, getting another force marker, and yeah, and the thing about Steam mains over here, you don't really need much hands to do anything at this point. We're officially at the point of the game where you can just bind something, call something, and just pop off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we might potentially be seeing 984 Smurf taking the crown from Manlong with this crackback turn over here. A large amount of pressure. Manlong only having 2 cards in his hand. Will it
And they're
be
not
enough to be able to
shields.
survive it? Yeah.
We know it's literally the drive check. It's just 2 great 2s. So this is, you don't even need much setup here. I think at this point you just go in.
And that is
there a
it.
chance for a heal? That's
Yep.
game. Nope, that's game. That's it. We have our winner. 984 Smurf will be our champion for Bushiroad Rumble Online 2023 for the V Premium format.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy back and forth game.
Yeah, I think at the end
Exactly.
there, Manlong could just kind of see it's like, I'm either gonna get the heal or I'm not. And there's not really much use in trying to push back on what there's just kind of already kind of decided at that point. But wow, yeah, no,
think it
very
came down
well
to that
played though
PT.
on both players' ends.
I
For
think
sure.
I think that fifth damage, that damage trigger, I think that really that was I was almost didn't want to say it's a game changer, but honestly, I think a trigger would have really helped on Manlong's side. It might have been game there if there was a potential check for a trigger.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I mean, whether it be a crit trigger to seal the deal off of the Vanguard swing
Exactly.
from Luard, or just a draw trigger as well, having that ability to call something like the Abyss Router and then using the Abyss
Exactly.
Router skill to create an additional attack on 5 damage. Just a lot of factors that take into account here, but it just goes to show that even though all of that is possible, variance is still a thing.
Exactly. And you never know. I mean, we don't know how many triggers were left in that deck.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on there. But it was just a very well played out match from both sides. I think both players played
Absolutely.
off. And by the way, again, just to note this, I believe 984 Smurf was going second that game too. We saw
Yep.
3 top 8 matches and the person going second won every single one, which is pretty wild if you think about it. Because that doesn't, like I said, that's usually it's an uphill battle. So that's tough.
Definitely. Well,
Looks
I
like we'll
think,
be-
yeah, I think we've got a quick break coming up here soon, but we'll be back very shortly. And when we do come back, we will actually have 984 Smurf with us for a
Yep.
winner's interview. So we'll be seeing you all very shortly.
See you guys soon. Hello and welcome back. We are here. We're about to have our winner interview here. You guys excited?
Oh
Yeah.
man, what a final game from the back and forth of, Man Long trying to accumulate, getting those overalls onto Luard, to just Smurf being able to properly set up those aggro and aggression combos that is the bread and butter of Steam Maidens. It was just such a wonderful final match to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is.
It was very, very intense too. And so, I'm very curious to kind of know like some of the thought processes and things. And thankfully, we don't really have to wait too long. We can cut right to Smurf and find out just what was going on during those games there.
Let's go ahead and see our champion.
Oh, wait, maybe not. Maybe I spoke too soon. That's my bad.
We're just getting ready. It is all good.
Getting everything all set.
Yeah, very, very big moment for our winner here. So.
All right, now
All
we're
right,
ready.
now
Let's
we're
do it.
ready.
Now we're ready. Welcome in. Hello. Welcome in, 94 Smurf. You excited?
Hello.
Happy to be here?
Yeah, really happy. So I've been through a couple of top 8s for the past few years of VRO, but I've never gotten beyond top 8. So I'm really grateful and honored to be here, winning after so long.
Right.
Exactly. Congratulations, by the way. Welcome in first place. So we do have a couple questions, just to kind of talk. I'll start with Fuzzy, and then we'll just kind of go down the line here.
Yeah,
Right.
sure. So, in your honest opinion, so Steam Maidens, what made you decide to bring Steam Maidens?
I think I had a couple of deck choices that I wanted to try. So I tried Luat, Anj Rolenka, Pure Anj, and Steam Maidens. However, I approached my friends and I even play tested with them and came to a conclusion that Steam Maidens was still the best pick and probably the most stable, safest pick. So I decided to just give it a try. And the weirdest thing is, as of last week, so at this timing last week, I still have not really gotten the hang of Steam Maidens. I haven't really even put the deck together yet. So I only just got it in the last week, play tested really intensively with some of the other potential decks like Luat or Anj, and then decided that, yeah, I'm just going to go with Steam Maidens. Another reason was because the deck that I put together was, it came with the help of a lot of people, a lot of friends. So I want to take some time to give a shout out to 2 very special people that have helped me make this deck possible for me to play in VRO. So firstly will be Sentinel Games. So Sentinel Games, they helped me with my draw PGs as well as my Heal Trigger Uluru. So really shout out to them. For those who want to buy English cards, Japanese cards, supplies, yeah, you should go to them and stuff like that. Yeah. For my other friend, his name is Daryl. So some of y'all might know him as Daryl Kwon. He helped with the Steam Maiden playset. So for both clan collections, he just passed it to me. And because of him, I was able to play Steam Maidens. So I'm also really thankful for them. And that's the motivation behind why I still ultimately decided to choose Steam Maidens to play for VRO. Wanted to do them proud.
Aw, that's very sweet.
You did them pretty proud. First place, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, was there any matchups you were scared of seeing?
There were a couple of matchups that I was pretty afraid of. So definitely mirror matches going second or even first for that matter, because going first or second in a mirror match doesn't matter if you don't farm much. Luat as well faced some Luats in Swiss, and definitely some of the tougher matches that I really had to think a lot in order to get through those. The worst one is definitely Glendios and Chaos.
Of course.
Yeah. So Glendios and Chaos is definitely my worst matchup, and would have been disastrous if I met into one. I actually met one in Swiss, but I was lucky enough to be able to win it through the help of some of the cards like Nabu. It helped me. So
Yeah.
some of the matchups that I was afraid of prior to this.
Thank you.
Right. So I was curious too because I believe that this final round was actually a rematch that you had from Swiss, and you mentioned how Luard was one of the kind of decks that you were concerned about. So I'm kind of curious about your thought process going into this round because I believe in Swiss it worked out the other direction. So how was that for you going into this final round?
There were a few differences. In Swiss, the Luat player, Manlong went first. No, he went second. Sorry. So he was able to farm a lot with Abyssal Owl since he went second. This time was a bit different. Manlong went first, and my thought process was I'm just gonna see what resources I have. If I can get anything, try to filter out my deck. If I can get the Entranas to work, I'll get the Entranas to work, and then hopefully push him early because his hand was really weak because he wasn't able to get access to Abyssal Hours earlier on. So just my thought process was to push him as hard as I could. There was one instance where he checked double crit and pushed it to Abyssal Owl, and I was contemplating whether to take it or not. However, I decided to take it. I was like, should I not? But yeah, in the end, because I wanted to accelerate my bind and accelerate my board, push as many attacks, thought that the pros of using my counter blast would outweigh the cons of keeping myself at 1 damage. Yeah. And I had Kurunta in hand, so I needed the counter blast to remove his Decron.
Yep.
So that I thought that would help me if I took 4 damage instead.
Yeah, well, it definitely paid off for sure.
It did, yeah.
I guess one additional question I have is Luard in overalls, yes or no?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Luard overalls farming, yes or no?
I think yes.
Yeah.
You have 2 questions, Fuzzy, and that's the one you pick that. Oh my goodness. All right, I guess I'll chime in with something I guess maybe more useful. I don't know. Do you see yourself playing Maidens again in the near future? Do you think that it is the deck to keep on taking?
For V, I believe that there will be some sort of restriction list coming soon. So I'm not too sure if I will. So I'll see how it goes if once the restriction list comes. For the JP format, potentially I might pick it up because it's a little easier to get the Japanese version of Steam Maidens here in Singapore. A bit difficult to get premium Steam Maidens in English because it's definitely harder. Like we're not.
Yeah.
Singapore is where it's majority of Japanese players, Japanese cards being distributed. So perhaps yes, I think I will look more into Steam Maidens now. So yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. I was gonna say the JP format is a little bit different in terms of the ban list, right? There's a couple differences, and as far as I'm aware, I don't think Steam Maidens is even that popular on that side, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, Piano Man Colossus isn't banned in the Japanese format. You could still use it.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, just play Steam Maidens. Yeah, it's almost solved. You found your deck.
There you go. And I guess for my last question here, I think you bring up a good point about like a potential ban list and seeing Steam Maidens on there in some aspect. So I'm kind of curious, like, if say that does happen, what are kind of like going forward for events? What are kind of like backup plans, backup decks that you're would probably switch to instead?
Perhaps for Springfest, I might go back to Anj. I own Anj, so it would be nice to try again. I think once Steam Maidens, if they are pushed off the meta, I think they'll be one of the more prominent decks. I might try Leopold Reverse. It's really strong. I'm not sure which build, but I mean, there's a couple of builds, so maybe I'll go into that. Definitely Lua. I think Lua, playing against Manlong, I think it's still a really strong deck, and it just reaffirms it with my matches with him the last 2 days.
Yeah, no, definitely. Those are, I would personally agree, some very prominent decks to look out for. You definitely have a couple of Anj enthusiasts here as well. So that's definitely a pick for sure.
Us
Yeah.
too. Hi.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Alrighty.
thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you here, like even though it's virtual, but it's still a pleasure meeting you. Still very great stuff, and I wish you luck. I hope you enjoy your Chrono Jets. We'll leave you be here, but thank you so much. Congratulations once again.
Yeah,
for your
congratulations once
amazing
more.
first
Yes,
place.
congratulations.
Yeah, yeah,
Come
you
on.
did
Thank
it.
you.
All right.
Alrighty.
You're welcome. You too.
Wow. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our exciting weekend for hashtag BRO 2023. You know, if you do have any of memorable moments you want to talk about, please, of course, use that hashtag, get that conversation going on all the socials, and see what type of cool ideas we might be seeing on our way coming Springfest season, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And then, like, the thing is too, is like, we've got Springfest coming up, but this isn't the end. This may be the last V Premium BRO this weekend, but we have more BRO events coming up that we can highlight for you guys as well. So here we have the week 1, which we just completed here right now. Coming up next is actually going to be Weiss Schwarz. You guys can look forward to that on May 20th and 21st. And then I'll pass it off to you, Orange, if you want to talk about our next format.
Yes, we got week 3 going on here, so we have. I'm having a little trouble reading it though. Week
I
3
believe
we
it's
have more
standard.
Cardfight Vanguard. I believe that's standard right there. So yeah, week 3 is that. So get ready for that. August 26th to August 27th. So starting points for you there. And I think we have one more week right after that. We do have Vice, don't we? So if we have Boar, we could show you guys Boar. Week 4.
Yeah, week 4 we have an exciting format. It's premium. I was gonna say it is premium. That's definitely a format that I think Ty is gonna be very excited to see. That's all the way in November though, so I'm interested to be seeing what that is gonna be evolving into, because I believe, it could be wrong, we might have the history collection in time for that event. A whole bunch of new exciting things to see in the premium metaspace, so that'll definitely be a stream you guys will want to jump in and watch, or maybe even participate in. If BRO has taught us anything, is that for those who are watching at home, you want to jump into this action, well, you have the flexibility to do so, and not in just one tournament. If you really want to do it, we've seen it in multiple levels. People are participating in the NA region that are from AO and EU, and you could just hop around to any of these events, and it's just a sight to see.
Definitely. And I do know the premium players, they like to get into the lab. They like to brew quite a bit. And with that all the way down in November, you guys got plenty of time to bust out some decks, to get some spicy sauce that you want to bring there. Not as much time for standard and Weiss, but you still got time. You still got time to kind of prepare for those. So definitely lots of card fighting action to be looking forward to for sure.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. And overall, I love all the formats. And I've never tried Vice, but I've tried a little bit of Vice. But overall, just very exciting stuff. So stay tuned for the Bureau is happening all year round, pretty much. So you got a bunch of time. If you feel like taking a break, you want to do something else or whatever, you can always come back for a future format coming up. So very exciting stuff. And yeah, so with that being said, guys, last minute shout outs here. So I'll start us off. Thank you guys so much out there who have been watching, enjoying, cheering, getting excited. I do want to give a big shout out to the production team. Very amazing stuff. Our streamer that's been with us this whole time, he's been doing an amazing job as well. So props to him. And overall props to everybody, to Vision and everybody else that's just done an amazing job to run this event. Hopefully it was smooth for you. It was pretty smooth from my perspective, from what I saw, but of course I wasn't participating. But regardless, thank you so much everybody out there for being here with us today. And Tyler, would you like to?
Yeah, as always, just want to thank everybody so much for being here. Thanks for all the competitors for participating, every one of you on the streams as well watching. Really appreciate you being here. Yeah, just it's it's always very fun. I guess one other shout out, like Orange said too, to all our production, helped make this a very smooth event, so we got through it. The only other thing I would say is subscribe to Outer Orange on YouTube. Follow on Twitch.
you.
Same with here. Tie
Get
Fighter.
it to 3K.
Subscribe on yeah. Subscribe on
Thank you so
YouTube. Follow on Twitch and Twitter. Also, I mean Fuzzy too. You know, you gotta support
Fuzzy
the
got
god
pie
of the pie charts over here. So Fuzzy, yeah. Anything from you that you want to shout out here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, yes, huge shout outs, massive shout outs to the production team, massive shout outs to Cardfight Vision for putting on an amazing event, for being so flexible and just being able to be so accommodating. And, you know, shout outs to Quinlan, shout outs to Peter, shout outs to Charlie, to everybody, really. I mean, there's way so many names to take into account. But of course, you know, shout outs to my co-casters, of course. You know, this was my first time casting in for BRO, and just, you know, having the ability to be so flexible, and you guys have just been amazing co-commentators. So it's been very fun. And yeah, of course, you know, if you want, you can follow me on Twitter.
Follow him. Do it. I dare you. Do it.
Well, I think that's gonna do it for all of us here for the V Premium format of BRO 2023. We will be seeing you next time for the other BROs, and you might even see some of us at a Spring Fest near you coming up soon. But from all of us here to all of you, thank you so much for being here. We will see you all next time.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, everybody.